Hey, Whisper to Me. How are you? Hey, Lisa. Hi, J.O.S. How's everybody doing? Hey, Mama T. Hi, Earthbound. Hi, Scarlet Rain. Hi, Kemi. Hi, CYNT. You actually got a notification. Good. Hi, Peggy. Hi, Mary Kim. Hi, Kathleen. Hey, Linda. Did everybody see that first chapter of that other book? Hi, Danny. Hey, Bernard. How you doing? Hi, Pat Nanny. Hey, Pat Miller. How are you? Hi, Janice. Hi, Miss Mary. Hi, Caroline. You're actually watching part 2. Good. Hi, Carol. Hi, Nikki. Hi, Connie. Hi, Maddie. Hey, Vala. Did everybody look at that first chapter of that other book, the All My Broken Pieces? Don't all answer at once. Wouldn't want a stampede of answers. I don't know if my chat is stuck or you guys are just silent. I'm just starting to watch part 2. No, I'm talking about the book that caused all the hullabaloo last night. It's just the first chapter. It's out there. It's out there all over the place. Send me an email, Teacup. I might be able to hook you up. But you'll see when you read it, it's terrible. It's crude, but it's sarcastic. She is actually ripping. See, I can't even believe Cindy will allow it, because she is ripping into Chris, saying how stupid he is. That's what I don't think a lot of people understand. She is not painting Chris in a good way, not at all. And when she says that, what she said, it was in a sarcastic, rhetorical question. You're not feeling well tonight, Brenda? I'm sorry to hear that. You know, so it's, that's what it was. Right, but see, I don't know what the heck happened because I wasn't there, but then somebody started saying that again. Oh my gosh, they're accusing Shanann of doing this, but that's not what it was. They didn't read it. Not that I agree with the book. I don't agree with the book. I don't agree with, I don't think this is they say this is an experienced writer. Her writing style is not much better. It's very, the sentences don't flow correctly, but it is sarcastic. No, that's not what it says, Nikki. That's fake. Whoever is putting that out is lying. I'm telling you. I've read it. I have the first chapter. It's crude, her writing style, okay, but she didn't say that. It was said sarcastically and rhetorically. Like, how stupid are you, Chris, that you want us to believe this? The same way that we've said it in here, like, how stupid are you, Chris? You want us to believe that you strangled Shanann because she killed the kids, but you didn't call 911? We've said the same type of stuff. That's exactly what she said. The person did not read it right. Oh, that's something different, Nikki. That's something different. I'm just talking about there was a hullabaloo over this one chapter. Hey, Mommy for the win. Hi, Sam. Hi, Chris Ree. Hi, Dan. I got you, Danielle. Lisa. Who else did I miss here? Sharon. Hi. Connie, God, Brenda, Debbie, hi. I am not surprised she's ripping. Right, but she's writing this with Cindy, and Cindy is in denial. Hi, Wildlife. I don't know who else I missed. I see you too, but this is that happened last night is different, and the drama happened yesterday has now been edited. The drama that happened yesterday has now been edited by deleting. Yes, but Nikki, she says that sarcastically. She's making fun of him. She's making fun of him. Okay, I'll recap for you real fast. Remember the book we went over that Cindy, we found all those chapters where she was bashing Shanann. Now, Cindy is bashing Shanann. Yes, Cindy is bashing her in that book. 100%. 100%. She actually says, my boy was perfect until he met Shanann. Now, this author that someone said is an experienced author, I looked up her name and I didn't see too much coming up with her name. Okay, so, okay. And the other author, the one that, unless Amazon did it wrong, if you go look for his book and he's written stuff, it says that it's already got a mistake of the facts in the first paragraph of the description on Amazon. There's already a major mistake there. Hopefully it's just Amazon's mistake, but if not, there's a big problem. So yesterday, the first chapter was intentionally leaked that is sold out. Sold out? How could you be sold out? You can't be sold out on Patreon. That's a joke. That's a joke. But so they leaked it out, and then you had Mel reading it, and Mel didn't know how to read it. Okay, and the sound was awful. And I have to admit, I was not there. I was not there when what went down. But apparently, it was very hard to understand. Thanks, Anna. It was really hard for people to understand that it was sarcasm, that she was ripping Chris apart. And people didn't understand it because of the way it was being read. So then there was this whole craziness, okay? And supposedly Frank Rusak came in there and said it was all BS. And then people went nuts, okay? And then someone else went and opened up a live with a black screen and just started screaming profanities like a lunatic, okay? Which was dirty deleted today because it was like a freaking crazy rant. And that's not unusual. But that had to be deleted. And then I didn't see any of that hybrid, but what I'm telling you is that the book that's not, sarcastic, she wasn't singing any praises for Chris. And I'm no fan of that other channel or the other channel. Either one I'm not a fan of. Okay? I'm not. And I'm definitely not a fan of Mel. And I'm definitely not a fan of the Watts. But I'm telling you, I deal in facts. And facts are facts. I've read the chapter. The chapter is not slamming Shanann at all. Cindy's chapters, they are slamming Shanann. The facts are the facts. So that's it. That's it. it wasn't read right. She didn't know how to read it. And it went off the rails. And when it went off the rails like that, the channel creator should have reeled it in. She should have muted Mel's mic, and someone else. Don't buy the book. I'm not telling you to buy the book. I wouldn't buy the book. It slams Shanann. It does. Cindy's chapters all slam Shanann. All of them. So that's good, Connie. The black screen rant, I had to be dirty deleted today. No one waits to get the facts before they go off like lunatics, really. Oh, you mean to tell us? No. You know what it reminded me of? Do you know what the dirty delete reminded me of? It reminded me of Rosanna Dana. Do you remember when she used to go on there and she used to get so upset and she used to read something and she was screaming about it and she was ranting about it, and then somebody would be like, Roseanne, that's not what it says. That's not what it means. And she'd go, okay, never mind. Do you remember that? That's exactly what this was. That is exactly what this was. Don't get facts, go off like a lunatic, rant for 2 hours like a lunatic, and then, never mind, dirty delete. It's not going to, it was like, and that's what I mean, like the person could not get fast enough on there. Dirty delete, Sakura, means when you do a video, right? And then you're embarrassed about it for some reason because you might have gone off the rails. You might have called people horrible names. You might have, she's dirty deleted ones on me. She's called me horrific names and dirty deleted them. But anyway, so you dirty delete it. But this woman's supposed to be a professional, and she doesn't even hold on and say, wait, do I have the facts before I just go on there? Okay, no, I don't, but I'm just going to go on there anyway. And I think she was fueled because I don't think she ever saw numbers like that in a live of hers, and I think that was fueling her. No, it's not back up. Which one? I don't think you're talking about this. Are you talking about the same one, Hybrid? Child abuse. Okay, but see, I don't think everyone is on the same page. There are camps that say and that believe, including the Watts, that don't believe that Chris killed the kids. I'm not saying that that's not happening. I'm not saying that this book of Broken Pieces, well, my Broken Pieces, it slams Shanann. Please understand what I'm saying. It slams Shanann. From beginning to end, Cindy's part slams Shanann. We know that. All I'm talking about is this one chapter that was read, and it was read the wrong way. It was read by a person that doesn't know how to read sarcasm. Because the person was ripping Chris apart. Okay? Ripping Chris apart. It has a photo of Chris and what is that? I can't say. I don't know. No idea how that is. How does the title match? It does. Okay. my video's not private. Which one? No, my videos, it was private because I was recording it. And then I tried, it goes to public and I have to go to private. It should be public now. They should all be public now. The second episode should be public now. You think she did that on purpose, Bella? Okay. No, it's changed. It's only because I was recording it. I was recording it right on live. So I didn't have to go edit and upload. So when I do that, it's going to show private. Okay. But I don't know. I feel like, do we think Mel and Jay? Oh, how are they going to be done so? There's plenty that are on the Watts camp that are still around. You can tell me. Go ahead, Dars. I heard a little bit of the rant, Dars. I heard she was off the rails. And it's not the first time. It's not the first time. She thought that we said something in here and she went off the rails. Okay? She went absolutely off the rails, called me names. People were sending me sound bites, BITCH. She's calling me like a lunatic rant on me and then deleted it. Yeah, I know. Dars Cabins, it's not what you... Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. I have the... Yeah, go ahead. You can ask some people in here who saw it and sent me the sound bites to it. Yeah. Not everybody is who you think they are. But anyway. The chapter, I'm telling you the truth now. I have it. If you want the chapter, email me. You can see it. It's sarcastic. It rips Chris apart. It makes fun of him. It makes total fun of him. It's, in other words, written like, oh, Chris, why? She asks him multiple times, why did you kill the children? She's saying to him, because Cindy said to her, Cindy's book is okay. Cindy's parts are totally slamming Shanann. Totally. Okay? Please understand that I'm saying this. Every bit of the book that Cindy wrote slams Shanann. Okay? There's no arguing on that. The first chapter by this author says, Cindy asked me, why would Chris do this? To have a life with someone he only knew for 5 weeks. Why? Okay? And this author was just putting out, I guess, things that people have said. Okay? And you know one of the things that people have said, right? Anybody that follows this case, is that maybe we even have, what was the other one, was saying that Shanann couldn't even have, couldn't even be alone with her kids, right? So this woman was going through these different scenarios because she was trying to show that it was premeditated and Chris planned to kill the children because why would he take, if he was only, he says it's premeditated, right? He tells this Catel that she is responding to Catel. She says he tells Catel it was premeditated, right? So what this author's trying to say is that no, Anna, there's no victim blaming. What is going on? Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Okay. Anna, Nobody's. Cindy is. Cindy's chapters are. In hindsight, based on Mel's enthusiasm and her manner of reading it, I'm truly unsure if Mel knew she was being sarcastic. Okay, let me just explain this for 1 minute. Just stop typing for a second and just listen, just a little listen. No, this is not Cindy writing this. This is an author. Cindy asked her a question, okay? Oh, you're talking about Cindy, Ann. Okay, good. Cindy asked her a question. Why would Chris... Let me get the question she asked. Hold on. Just hold on. Hold on. Okay. So, Cindy asked her, how did Chris think murdering his family would let him be with Nicole? That was Cindy's question. She wanted to understand that. So the author said, what an excellent question. Okay? And then she goes on to talk about motive. And she says, the supposed motive that everyone thinks, for no reason she can figure out, is that Chris Watts murdered his pregnant wife and 2 little girls because he did not want his mistress of 5 weeks, okay, to find out his wife was pregnant. And then she says, how unbelievably stupid is that? Because Chris even admitted it was on Facebook that she was pregnant. And that in no way could be the motive, that he had to hide that, right? So she says it is the stupidest motive in the history of murder, okay? Then she goes on to talk about how he only knew her 5 weeks, and she makes fun of that. And come on. And, and then now he tells Catel, and she's speaking right to Catel's book. She says he tells Catel that, no, I had this premeditated for weeks, right? So then she's asking, if you plan this for weeks, why would you kill your children? Why would you not leave them in North Carolina? Why would you even go get them? Okay, is what she's saying. Leave them there. Leave them in North Carolina. Their grandparents would have taken care of them. Okay? And then I am telling you, Lily, and then when you went with that oxy and you tried to, do something to the baby, do something to Shanann, and when it didn't work, you could have then said, you know what? Maybe that's a sign. Maybe I should just go back, leave Shanann. She said, Shanann is beautiful. She said Shanann is young. Shanann would have gotten married again. Shanann wouldn't have had to worry, she said. She could live without him. So everybody's missing the point. Then she goes through, you're very confused? Okay. I don't know how to explain this to you. Okay, forget the Watts case. This is exactly what it is, okay? Let's just say it was sarcasm. Oh my gosh, does anybody get this? Okay, good. It was sarcasm. She was ripping Chris apart. Have you ever found one of those stupid criminals? Okay, I'm trying to think of one right now. Just look at Jimmy Rodgers, okay? He put his freaking cell phone into the Garmin, right? So if somebody said, oh my gosh, Jimmy Rodgers is so smart. He went to kill someone and he put his phone in the Garmin that tracked his where he was going to and from the house of the woman he murdered. How smart is that? Do you think they're really saying that Jimmy Rodgers is smart? I don't know, Linda. I'm starting to think, yeah. Right, Karen. She was ripping Chris apart, ripping him apart. It was crudely written, Hennessy. I agree. It was crudely written. I honestly agree with that. But what I'm trying to say, they didn't doubt Shanann. They were saying how stupid it was. How stupid that scenario would be. Because a lot of people are not getting it, Janelle. It was read horribly as well. It was. It was. You have to, exactly. And the sound was terrible. Because I'm on vacation. Stephanie, this book isn't out yet. This book is Cindy's $1 Million, All My Broken Pieces. Okay, Diana. Okay, Leisha, listen. If the Watts don't think she's being sarcastic, she's still ripping him apart, even if, here, let me just show you something. I'm trying to see something here. She makes fun of him being in a rage. She makes fun of all his different confessions, okay? She says Chris, it seems, has never been pressed on why he killed his children. In his second confession, he alludes to a rage. And she makes fun of that rage, that he had never had a rage, but now he had a rage that lasted hours. From when he was in the house, from when he was having that fight with Shanann, to when he loaded up the truck, to the almost hour drive to the field, to then murdering his 2 little children that had been sitting on their dead mother's body. Come on, she's saying, you think a rage is going to last that long? That must be some freaking rage, right? That must be an epic rage, is what she says. She's making fun of him. She's saying he didn't tell us the truth. So you are saying that the writer is smarter than the Watts family. Well, Peggy, do you find people being smarter than the Watts family hard to believe? The Watts are thick-headed. Simpletons follow and support them. I load my... Okay, so she was not saying anything positive about Chris. Nothing. You get it now, Stephanie. Good. Okay. But the Watts supporters don't get it. Well, then maybe the joke is on them then, because if this woman is writing their book, she's no fan of Chris. Not a fan at all of Chris. some people take everything very literally and are unable to understand sarcasm. And the other creator went off. Absolutely. Didn't get the facts and then did a Rosanna Dana. Never mind. Please, can you slow chat a bit? Is it really fast? We don't have that many people here, only like 300. Hey, Leaping Lizard. Leaping Lizard, did you get the sarcasm? Did you get the sarcasm in? You want to call in, Leaping Lizard? Does someone want to call in that got the sarcasm? Please don't slow the chat. Okay. Yeah, right, Kanye. That's me. Drama starter number 1. Okay. Well, why was it down? There is a 4th book. Yeah. Okay. There is a book coming out by a true crime writer, a real one this time, but I hope that Amazon got the description wrong because there's already a blatant error right in the description of the book. Maybe it's regional. I mean, if I do something stupid, husband will say genius. Right. Okay. You email me, Froggy Toad. No offense, but most Americans don't get the dry, sarcastic humor. It's more literal. You think so? Everybody where I'm from gets sarcasm like crazy. What's that movie where they say, I hope you're picking up on my sarcasm because I'm putting it on there pretty thick. What movie is that? Is that Vacation or something? New York does. Yeah, well, that's New York, New Jersey. Yeah, we got the sarcasm. Yeah. I don't think Chicago is huge on sarcasm. Though I heard my nephew married someone on the outskirts of Chicago that's not so used to sarcasm. Anyway, Americans invented sarcasm. Dry humor is a little different. I get it 100%, but I'm not calling in. She was telling the reader what an idiot he is. Right. Servers don't count. The reader causes the problem. She was a bad reader. Yes, she was, Dars Capin. Don't know. I mean, it's a fun way to laugh at yourself. Being in the live when Frank was, he was simply saying BS about the part about being. He was simply saying BS about the part of the chapter being poorly read that was about. Well, I wasn't there, but I think that I honestly think that it was so poorly read that that's what it might have sounded like. Many people who live their lives sheltered or lives on YouTube chat rooms are a bit sheltered. So, but that she couldn't read. No. But I'm telling you because it's still out there. I'm not saying buy this book because Cindy's parts in it are terrible. Terrible. You think you figured it out? What did you figure out? Well, Terry, what happened was, what I gather, and I wasn't there when it went to crap, okay? I just saw the crazy black screen ranting That's not the first time it's happened, and I've been the scapegoat of it other times. So I just went to look and saw what it was, and it appeared someone didn't understand sarcasm or used it as an opportunity to go in and have a rant fest. I'm not talking about Frank. I'm not talking about Frank Darce Cabins. I'm talking about the rant that happened after. You think she read it that way intentionally? I'd be embarrassed if you read that intentionally like that. And why wouldn't, I wasn't there when Frank was there, but when Frank said that, why didn't the channel creator say, hold on a minute, this is not being read correctly, this is sarcasm. She's not saying this about Shanann, she's saying the absolute opposite. I don't agree with the book. I don't think it's written right. Please understand that. But I deal with facts. Whether I like the person, I don't like the person. And I'm no fan of Mel or anyone or any of those other channels. I'm not fans of any of them. So what I'm telling you that this is the facts of this, that it's not written the way it was taken, it's because I'm objective. Now I'm really confused, Darce, because I heard just the opposite. The BS part was said, are you sure, Darce? I think you have it wrong. Please read your email. Okay, hang on. It's so crazy the way things take off on YouTube. Okay. Hold on. Okay, Deb's going to call. You want to call in and clear this up? Okay. Okay. Oh, did they really? Cupcake? Ooh, who was it, Linda? It wasn't. Oh, that's terrible. Awful. Oh, Diana, I'm not getting caught up. I'm trying to get the fact out about the book because I talked about the book. Cindy's part of the book, completely biased, completely bashes Shanann. Completely bashes Shanann. Don't worry, Stephanie. But I don't go like the wind. I'm true to me. That's what everybody should really understand. I'm true to me. I'm true to the facts. I don't go which way the wind blows. I go which way I am because I can't fake anything. I can't fake it. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I am who I am, and I deal with facts. So no one's going to come here and make me go to anything. So that's it. Tammy, I know you say that. But I've been the brunt of those rants, and they didn't have the facts, and they called me scathing things. Okay, and others have heard it, and others have sent me the clips, and it was dirty deleted. So I know someone is not stable. Right, Izzy, I would say that, right? Because I put sarcasm on. Here's the thing. When I was doing my Chris Watts, when I started, they were so sarcastic. I did much of the same thing, saying, "Oh, that's so smart, Chris, right? You're a genius." But I don't understand. So I don't get it. I just don't get it. Hi. Hi. We can't hear you.
Hello?
Oh, hi.
Hi, Carolyn, it's Debbie.
Hi.
Okay, so I just want to preface this with I do not watch those other people at all.
Yeah.
I just happened to be sick yesterday, and I saw, live reading of this first chapter. So I thought, oh, I'll just check into it. But then I kind of the whole momentum of how it was being read and everything, I was like, oh, I can't do this. So then I clicked out of it, and then and I will not use names because I know you don't like that. Like channel, like creator names.
Right.
So then black screen person, we'll just call it that. She, I somehow my YouTube went onto her, like how it feeds the next story, and yeah, she was on a rant, and I was like, what is happening? Because I hadn't, like I said, I didn't really stay in the other part very long, and her rant, I did listen to it all, which I can't believe I did, but I did because I wanted to understand what had happened. And the original live reading of that first chapter, Frank had gone into that live. And what had happened is, I guess they're at the part where there's some mention. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I don't have the YouTube on, so I don't.
Oh, okay.
All right, it's so that it doesn't echo. Okay. So what happened was, Frank had gone in there at some point in this, apparently in this first chapter, they mentioned that there's the hinting or the accusation that Shanann was hurting the girls, and due to that fact, Chris took her life. And then that's at the point that Frank came in, and then he said that's not true. That was never, she never hurt them. And those people that were reading the book and the creator of the channel it was being read on said, oh no, that's black screen lady said that he did it because of that. That's where we heard it from originally. Well, the black screen creator was on that live listening, and then she went to defend herself and say, I never said that. And then they ended up blocking her or timing her out or something like that. So when they timed her out, that's when she went to her live. And her rant ended up being about falling susceptible to, I would imagine it's one, and not the creator's channel the reading was on, but the person who was doing the reading. And because apparently, now I don't know, I'm not a creator of any, and I don't think I want to be at this point with this ridiculous stuff going on. Apparently the person who was on there doing the reading has gone to many creators, yourself included, and I know you've mentioned it before too, trying to like build a bridge and show that everything's okay. And even though
Absolutely, 100%. That's true. Yep. But are you still there, Deb?
I remember you saying it, where they would, yep, I'm here.
Okay, you can go on. I was just agreeing with you. Go ahead. You can go on. You still there, Deb?
Okay.
So, okay.
Then ridiculous. Yeah, I'm here. Okay. Oh shit. Actually, we all need a good laugh at this point. This is why your channel is the best, because you don't usually get involved in this kind of nonsense. But I only wanted to kind of explain it because like I said, I never catch this kind of silliness, but because I did, and everyone in the chat is like, everyone's confused because um personally, this is my take. I'm European, I'm Portuguese. I get sarcasm. We ooze it. But I think, I don't care who it is, what type of author, in this type of book, sarcasm, like, yes, we use it like when we're talking about dumb criminals, because they're all dumb and they all think they're, the next best thing that won't get caught, but they all do stupid things. And we, as true crime followers and lovers, we can, joke about it and sarcastically say things. But I think when you're writing this book, the sarcasm, it might just be indicative of who these people truly are. And because they're not taking anything seriously, and they're trying to scapegoat everything away from who actually is sitting in prison, who should just take the brunt of it. And his family, I will never, like, I'm not going to say if my kid did this or my son did that or my daughter. We're parents. Of course, you're going to love your kids. But victim bashing, sarcasm, all that stuff needs to, but I'm not writing their book, so I'm not even going to go there. I just wanted to kind of clarify what ended up happening. And Frank did go on Black Screens Live, and she did get to talk to him. And she actually started crying at that point because she wanted to apologize to him. And then he made a comment saying, I knew you would never say something like that. I came onto your live to make sure you knew I didn't think that you actually said that. Okay. So, like, I don't know if she deleted it because I didn't go back to re-watch it. But, like I said, I don't really watch it. And I never had heard about her doing her rants on about you.
Yeah.
But yesterday she kept saying about how smart you were because you didn't fall for for their readers' stupidity and like their emails to entice you into it and stuff. So she did say that a few times, and I was like, yeah, that's right. Mommy Rambley's like, this is the best. She doesn't fall for stuff like this. So when it was the facts of why she got mad, it's because of the dynamics that happened at the time Frank came in and defended his daughter, saying she didn't hurt her children. And then they turned it around and said, well, Black Screen creator said you did, or she did.
Right.
And then apparently, then they did come onto this channel as well. The live, but I guess her moderators kind of said, like, just, I don't think they blocked them. They just said, like, this is not an appropriate place for you right now. But then apparently it was uploaded and then they had cut out that part. So I don't know how they did that, but whatever, they edited. So it's unfortunate, but I think that this is this kind of a vile crime and vile approach to how, like, they're just that family needs to go forward. And I'm not saying that family, but you know what I mean? Like,
oh no, I know you should be quiet. You believe me, I'm no fan of the book. That's what. It's just that I have to say what's true is true. And if you look at the chapter, and you want to be objective, you'll see it too. This woman is no fan of Chris at all. None.
Yeah, and I think that what's happened is you have this group of people who all have ulterior motives, and none of their ulterior motives point to the same direction. Mm-hmm. And even their common motives. There's so much selfishness that's happening, and like I don't know if they want to out some story. Well, I guess they do. They want to out some big miraculous, like didn't show up ever before kind of evidence and be the one to get it.
What they want, first of all, the Watts family wants to absolve Christopher. Okay?
Yes.
Christopher
Yes.
didn't do this, is what they want. Okay? Somehow, some way, this happened, but it was not his fault. Okay? Christopher himself is sitting there saying that he doesn't want to be judged on this one little event in his
just
life.
one thing.
Like what would he ever do like good that could eclipse killing your children and putting them in oil batteries? Tell me what good thing you could ever do that would eclipse that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's done.
I think that's the
That
thing.
is what you're going to be remembered for the rest of your life. That's it.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter what his family or people who know them will ever write. It doesn't matter, because at this point, no one believes him anyway. So, he needs to just go away, maybe into general pop, and just let him go, and don't protect him anymore. I don't know why we're protecting or not.
But
you know what I mean?
it's like going through this stuff with Markeith Williams today, okay? And this guy has a thought disorder. Chris Watts has a thought disorder. If he believes any of this crap, he has a thought disorder and he's delusional. He doesn't know why people would want him to suffer. That's what he said, right? He doesn't know why people would want him to suffer and take his pictures away.
Yeah.
He hopes people won't define him by the one little event that of his life.
I'm gonna say I'm not gonna go into my personal life, because we all have a story here, it seems like, but I guess that's what brings us to true crime. But my ex-husband, who was my husband still at the time, something happened, and I had said to him, or I said to people, there's only one thing that was worse than what he did, and it would be murdering my children. And I said, to me, his family, I'll just be very blunt. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's my story. But my oldest child.
Hello? Deb? We didn't hear you. You cut out completely.
Sorry.
You said my oldest child is the last thing we heard.
Okay. So my oldest child in 2004 was...
We keep losing you, Deb. We keep losing you. Debbie? I saw that froggy toad. That's terrible. Debbie, we lost you. The last thing we heard, my oldest child. The last thing we heard, it's my oldest child in 2004, and then you went out.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can. Yeah.
I think I hit mute. Sorry.
Okay.
With my ear.
Okay.
Anyway, so in 2004, my oldest child, I was married 16 years at the time, disclosed sexual abuse. So I left right away that night, and it'd been going on for a number of years, like 3 years. And I mean, the grooming went on longer, but I was a busy working mom, and I didn't see the signs. My whole family, nope. I mean, I met him 16, married him at 18, 34. This all happened. So it wasn't like I just met this guy and he moved in, right? Mm-hmm. But I will say one thing: his family, my ex-mother-in-law, the same thing. She has said to me, she's a good Catholic woman. I even said to her one time, I don't know how the ceiling doesn't cave in on you when you walk into that church, because it's so hypocritical. She says, I will just have to consider that you guys had irreconcilable differences, and that's why you left him. Like, she just can't.
She won't accept it. Yeah.
Now, maybe that's how she would be with murder. I don't know, but there are people like that in this world. And I think if you feed into my worst thing I kept have done back then was I'd be like, Mom, like, no, this is what he did. Like, you want to, there was a trial and everything. She didn't come to the trial. She lives in Ontario. I live in BC. And I said, like, these are the trial dates. And he's found guilty and he goes to prison. And she's still like, but he said, look, I'm like, you know what? If you wanted the truth, you should have been there. Because you will, if you need to question me, like, I don't need this relationship anymore. Mm-hmm. And she has distanced herself from her grandchildren. My kids are 30 and 26 now. She's basically, because she can't handle it that he did that. Well, you like, there's people like that in this world, and this family is very much like that. But in their case, their son is so public, and they're trying to defend his reputation. Well, his reputation's done. Like, you can't, like you said earlier, you can't go back from killing your kids and your wife.
Right. No.
It's not undoable. It's done. So I think that if you, like I said, I haven't given into this kind of stupidity with this case because of this kind of thing. Because I just would rather, of course, for Shanann's family, just let this, it's done. He's in prison. You're never going to know the real story. Just let it go. Because
I don't think they are going to let it. I really don't think they're going to let it go, because and I'm seeing it more and more, and I'm seeing a lot of it on YouTube too. Not only with the Watts Camp creators, okay, who people say, oh, their channel was taken down, and then she comes back up again and goes again at it, and then she's back again at it and back again, and then she's got a blog about it, and there's so many. I've never seen so many people with thought disorders until I came on YouTube.
Oh my gosh, I know. And
never in my life would I believe as many people suffered with thought disorders until I came on YouTube.
Well, and you know what? Like, let's be real here. So if they want to use this whole, like, oh, he was possessed because now he sees his grandparents freaking dancing in his cell. Like, come on, please. Like, he can say whatever he wants. He can use all the excuses. Maybe he has a brain tumor. Maybe he's got possession happening. Right. All that stuff. Tim Jones, he killed 5 children. And he was on some wacky tobacco Scooby-Doo nonsense,
snacks,
right?
Scooby snacks.
So, Scooby snacks. So what's the difference? He's still in prison. He's getting a death sentence, actually. He got a death sentence. So it doesn't matter what your mental health is. If there's at some point that you can function in the real world, which both of them could, they had decent, good paying jobs. They made it through work. I mean, socially inept, probably, both of them, but a lot of people are, and they function. But they still make conscious decisions on what and then when you say, I've planned it, well, then I'm sorry, but there's no going, that's not a mental illness, and so I think the sad reality is, until probably mostly his mom, but maybe his whole family, until they realize that you can never figure this out because he doesn't even know why, they're going to be like this forever. Like, they're going to be struggling.
But it's that they want to figure it out in a way that exonerates Chris.
Exactly. But there's not going to be.
Like, I mean, if somebody came to Cindy and said, you know what, I think, like if the neighbor said, I saw there was this thing going in the sliding door that night. I think that thing, whatever it was, committed the murders. And then it slipped out. Like, you could tell her the most outrageous thing, and I think she would run with it if it would exonerate Chris.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's, and look, nobody wants to ever raise a child that grows up and does something like that, right? Nobody does. Yeah. Nobody does. And yes, it would do tremendous things to your head, right? Like, how did my child do this, right? But she should have shut her mouth. If she shut her mouth, she wouldn't have what she has. It's because this happened and she went out there bashing the victim and then saying how good her son was. And at a victim's impact statement, she takes like a few minutes to go over the grandkids and Shanann, and then she turns it around to Chris. And I don't know why that judge did not shut that down, because Chris was not a victim. And I'm telling you, if I was Sandra Rusak, I would have jumped over there and tackled her. They could have taken me away. I would have said, this is not about you.
I would have been down for being charged with contempt of court.
Oh,
no problem.
I would have. Because, and the judge was 100% wrong to allow her to go on about her son. Okay?
You
he
know,
killed four people, and he let her go on with her rant.
The funny thing that you mentioned, that I, on the weekend, decided, because I'd seen something that said how, I think it was a comment one night saying that she supported Shanann the day.
Uh-oh, we lost you again, Deb. You must have hit mute again. Deb, we lost
the
you.
verdict, and I was like,
we lost you. You said the day that you said, we lost you again. We got.
Oh, geez, sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
The verdict day, right? And so I watched it on the weekend, and the funny thing is how they call themselves our daughter, and like they both said our daughter Shanann, and it's like, I'm sure that the Ruseks must have been like what you just said, wanting to just claw their way there.
Don't you see? Right, that whole thing to do that victim statement was a ruse. Okay?
Yes.
It was a ruse to get there to talk about Chris. And I wish they would have done what they did to that woman with the FSU son, that was professor that was murdered, where they had to see what she was going to say. And the minute she went to veer anything off of it, they were, and I mean, this woman was in the right, and they were making her feel like, oh my gosh, what was she saying? That judge should have stopped her. That was disrespectful.
It was so frustrating. And I remember seeing that the first time like a year ago. And I remember like last November, at his verdict sentencing story, I remember bawling, because this is the mom, right? And your son, and of course, no one really knew about her back then. But my biggest thing with that is there's always supposed to be decorum in the courtroom. There's supposed to be no emotions in the courtroom. Why was she able to go off like that?
Well, it is a victim statement, so
but just turning to him and stuff, you're not supposed to do that.
But she shouldn't have been addressing him at all, because he's not a victim. Okay?
That's true, I know.
He's not somebody. Oh my gosh.
I know yes, but okay, if it's interesting, because if they had supported him,
he perpetrated the entire thing, and she's sitting there and going on about him. And she, my gosh.
Oh, yeah, when she says, I forgive you, son, like, give me a break.
But she's talking about the day he was born and how much she loves him. And,
I know. Like none of us moms have not loved our child since inception. Like, come on. I mean, that's inevitable. But I think with her smartest move that day, and I always say this, I don't care how mad you are about something, like, you got to remember, and that was all public. My goodness, it was videotaped, or it was live at the time. But I think they stepped into, now I do believe his parents and his sister are victims. They are victims of that crime, because that was in normal people's lives. That was their daughter-in-law and their granddaughters. And
right, but that's what they were supposed to speak on. That was
But they didn't become victims of that. They became victims that their son is going away to prison for life.
Right.
Without any answers to them. Like that, one of the things she says, I don't know if, we'll ever get an answer.
And it's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment for Jamie. It's an embarrassment for her family. Okay? she's embarrassed by it, because how could this be in the gene pool? That's what it is.
Well,
But
most people, I hate to tell these people, this family this, but most people don't show their true colors. You don't typically, that's why every single time you hear about these horrible murders, people are like, my God, they were such nice people. I saw them on the, at the barbecuing all summer. I saw them. They're not going to go around looking like psychos, because then it's a dead giveaway.
it's always the quiet ones, isn't it?
It
Mostly always the
is.
quiet ones. Like, oh my gosh, I lived next door for him for years. He never said anything. That's why I'm
Yeah,
saying I'm scared to death of the quiet people. I'll take the people that go have a tantrum about something at the store over someone that's just constantly quiet oh, we never argue. If I hear someone say, we never argue, I'm like, run as fast as you freaking can. If my daughter ever brought home somebody that was like, we never argue in our house, we never raise our voice, we never do anything, I'd be like, run away. Run the freak away. Okay?
I know. I have a cousin who's married to my daughter, because she's like 20 years or 22 years. And she goes, we've never had one fight. And I looked at my daughter who's 26. She's in a 2-year
well, then
relationship.
something's big festering under the surface there.
I said, if I ever hear you guys say that, like I said to my daughter and her boyfriend, so that's fake. Like, that's not real. So,
but what's festering under the surface, right? Because they keep pushing it down, and then they just explode. Oh my gosh, they just explode.
So, I mean, this kind of, I don't know, like, I admire it, because I don't know how, because your audience, us ramblers, are going to want to know what the heck is going on with these books. But it's such a, like, how are you going to do this? Where, I mean, you respect the Rustics. I do totally get that, but it's like, I guess just continue being you. Like, I mean, you this is what it is. This is like the whole other book. What was her name? Adler. Not Adler. Cadle. I mean, I watched her on some stupid interview, and she was just like,
you know who she sounds. You know what? You know who she sounds like if you close your eyes. Cloris Leachman.
Okay, now I gotta close my eyes to the guy who sounds like
Danny DeVito, and she sounds like Cloris Leachman.
Oh God, you make me walk around with my eyes closed.
Yeah, she sounds just like Cloris Leachman.
She had nothing valuable.
Right.
I don't know what she thought she was ever going to get out of that, but it's
Karen's worried. You don't have anything festering? Okay. It's not quiet, Karen. Do you ever get pissed at something? See, that's the thing. If you really want to like explode, but instead you just bury it, that's the problem. But maybe you don't get like that. Like if somebody's like ticking you off, and then you're saying, like, instead of saying anything to them, I'm just going to keep burying it. Then you go crazy. It's not about being quiet. You can be quiet.
There's a word for that. What's that? It's not passive aggressive, is it? No.
No. It takes a lot.
There's a term for it. Like,
if you're truly feeling you want to like get mad or something, and you purposefully just keep putting it under. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't take the high road sometimes with your spouse and not pick everything as a battle, but if it's all the time and you're just suppressing it, then you've got something. Karen, if nothing is really pissing you off and you're just going through, don't worry about it,
Yeah, like I think, well, like I said earlier, my parents are Portuguese, so I came from a very, very lively and loud household, and I'm not a quiet person myself. But the way I was raised was like, brush it under the rug, brush it under the rug, brush it under the rug. But then all of a sudden you fall flat on your face and you get into a fit because you brushed it under the rug. So being raised in a Western world with these old country mentality was like, it's a little bit of a mind game. But I learned along the way that I am the type of person that I'll tolerate, and then, but it's usually different. It's like if someone takes my kindness for granted and just thinks, oh, she's a good person, she'll just forgive me, and then she'll forgive me, and then all of a
Right,
sudden
and then
I
they're
just
taking
explode.
advantage of you, right?
Yeah, so that's a different thing, but
Oh, see,
typically
that's it, Karen. You're okay. You're good. It's about like not. It's not just being quiet. You can be quiet. I know there was.
yes. You can be quiet, just the way you deal with your frustrations that happen
Right.
in life. Well, I I don't want to. I've taken up way enough of
Oh
your
no,
show,
it
but
was a good call. No.
I just
Um,
wanted to kind of clarify all that was happening, or I think that was happening,
yeah,
where
I don't know.
people
I just went off the rails. I just like really fast.
it did, and I think it's because like the people were, if they were getting the sarcasm, or if they weren't, it wouldn't be surprising, because the monotonous kind of monotone reading with the distraction noises, you can't really understand that, right? But then when it went off the rails is when something was blamed on someone, and then that really just, from my understanding, that's where it went off the rails. But I think as much as I know that other person at Black Screening Creator is supposed to be, from my understanding yesterday, some like mental health failed, but
Yeah. Hmm.
um, she went, she went, and I hate to say this because I know she's upset and done stuff in the past to you, but I gotta say, when I was hearing, I don't know why I shouldn't have been so excited, but I was hearing what she was saying about these creators. I was like, finally, someone has gone off their rocker enough to say it out loud. Because it seems like you got to be careful what you say because everyone's watching or listening, you know, or recording before you even take it off. So it was just, and it sometimes, unfortunately, takes that direct hit. Hearsay is not going. You're not going to stand up for someone else who got hurt. You're gonna, if it's directly aimed at you, then you're going to take it and you're going to deal with it. Um,
But it's just
I'm not.
better not to deal with some of it because it's all there's so many people out there lying. So it's just better not to deal
Exactly.
with it.
Well, I always I have this saying. Sometimes my mom will say, "Oh, but how about what will so and so say?" I'm like, "Listen, I'm the one who like looks in the mirror at the end of the day, and if I can look at myself and go, 'Hey, I'm proud of you,' or I don't have anything to be ashamed of, I don't care what they say. Like that's their issue. If they need, or sometimes like if their life is so boring, knock yourself out.
Right, right. There's a lot of people that are out there for attention, and
Absolutely.
you can't entertain. And there's a lot of people with thought disorders, and that's my biggest thing to understand. Do they really not understand they're just talking about delusions, or do they really have a thought disorder that they should be in the hospital for? Because if some of the stuff they believe and some of the stuff they put out there they really think happened, wow, oh boy.
Well, you know what? For all we know, Mrs. Watts might have that.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
might have the exact, like, like I sometimes, when people say something to you and you're like, if I have to think too much about it, I'm like, whoa, what did they just try to play with my head? Like, what
yeah,
was it that they were
yeah.
doing? And, or it'll happen, it happened today at work. Like, someone, you'll try to kind of like, hey, like correct someone. I'm training two people at the time at this current time, but I'll be like, oh, this needs to be done. But the way that they reply and like kind of weave everywhere else, you're kind of like at the end, you're like, did the point get across, or did they just freaking like pull the wool over my eyes?
Yeah,
So,
it's not. Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's there's so much word salad. Like even
oh,
Jones,
that's a good word.
The other Jones, Michael.
Oh yeah,
He
yeah, yeah.
started to write in word salad, and I'm seeing that freaking word salad type of write. It's scary. It's scary because I'm like, wait a minute. Even if the person doesn't know what they're writing, does someone in their inner circle say like, wow, what the hell is going on here? Like it's so obvious that there's a thought disorder there, but
Yeah, but it's amazing. I have a perfect example in my life. A friend of mine for 26 years, her dad, like she's 12 years older than me. Her dad was, I think, 86, 2 years ago when he died. But this man was like, she kept saying, oh, I think he's got bipolar, or, oh, he's got this, or I'm like, well, have you ever had him checked out? Because like something's not right with him.
Mm-hmm.
As nobody in their right mind walks around as miserable as this man does with things that he should be enjoying with life.
Mm-hmm.
Like there should, and she'd be like, oh no, but he won't go to a doctor. But the step was never made.
Mm-hmm.
It does. I don't know if there's an answer to it, but I do know a lot of people are walking on this earth that don't understand that they have an issue. And if your whole family has an issue,
yeah,
you just think that everyone else has a problem. Well, if everyone else has a problem, except for the people that are your reflections in the mirror, then you need that it's you. Like if everyone else outside of your little circle,
mm-hmm.
then it's you, and people, I mean, maybe she's just some of her thoughts that sound like came out of this first chapter, they're normal thoughts, like, but on the same note, some of them she should never have, like, no one should be saying this out loud.
You're talking about the author of,
no,
Kathleen,
Cindy.
or you're talking about Cindy?
Cindy, yeah.
Oh no, Cindy shouldn't be saying any of that out loud. No.
And you know what's really heartbreaking?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, was it 6 months ago when Frank had that press conference and said, like, please stop.
Mm-hmm.
The creators appreciated that, and guess who freaking opened the can of worms again? The Watts.
Oh, of course. Yes.
It wasn't the creator. Because he was saying YouTube was really bad. Everyone now.
No, he actually didn't say that. He actually said the harassment.
Okay,
the Facebook pages that were created that imitated Frankie Jr. and Frank, and there was horrible things mostly happening on Facebook where they were being harassed. And then the Watts Camp channels, he was talking about that. 100%. He was talking about crazy conspiracy theories, all of that stuff. 100% talking about that. But yeah.
But so now this is all again because of his family. That's it, or himself with some grandma who's writing him letters.
Happy birthday, Amy, and Anna. I'm sorry about your friend there. Prayers for her. But yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know. I mean, it's scary. It's scary out there. But I want to go into because really scary is this just the Markeith thing with.
Okay. Well,
all that, right?
You know what? Thank you so much for having me on.
No, I appreciate it. No, I appreciate it because it just sometimes I can't deal with when sometimes there's like any excuse to make drama. That's what it appeared to me last night. Instead of trying to say, well, wait a minute, did we misunderstand this or whatever? It just seemed like it was any occasion to go off the rails, and it's not the first time from this person. That's the thing.
Oh yes, and because I've never watched. Maybe like, who knows, like over the year, maybe once, but not like a whole, like not addicted to like you every night. This is like a cult or something. But.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's people in here who have fallen victim to it. It's just.
So I have never seen it, right? So I didn't know. I mean, I just wanted to, because I've never invested too much time in that side of it because I just hate it. And,
no, me too. Yeah.
Right. And so I like, what has happened? This is ridiculous. And so when I heard the details, and I was like, okay, so she's not mad about the book, like content. It was a direct thing. So that I got. Her rant, she's the one she can do whatever. It doesn't change my fact of if I like her or not. And, it's just, it is what it is. She's the one that has to live with that. But I do thank you very much for, talking about this and clearing
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
Now we can just move on from it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I wanted to get out that that's not what that chapter says. It's not. It was read terribly, whether on purpose or, innocently. I don't know. I can't speak to that. I'm no fan of the person that read it. I'm no fan of the channel that it was read on. I'm no fan of the other channel.
Yeah, I don't think everybody, no fan of those people.
But I
So did
have
you
to be
say-
objective, and I have it in my
Yeah.
hands, and I have to tell you that it's written, it's bashing Chris. It's not bashing Shanann. Cindy's parts are bashing Shanann.
Wow.
But
So you said, did you say that we could email you?
yeah,
and you could
email me
send
and
us
I'll
that?
send
Okay.
it to you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you again, Carolyn.
Okay. All right.
You have a good night.
All right.
Okay,
Take
thank
care.
you.
Thanks.
You too. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Happy birthday to all. Who else had a birthday? Happy birthday to everybody. Diana's birthday? Jen Bulger, your birthday too? 3 birthdays? Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Okay, so on to thought disorder again. We have Markeith. Okay. I can't take, it's good that everything is rested because I cannot take much more of this penalty phase. They have been bringing everyone out of the woodwork that they can, and it's getting crazy. So I'm just really about done with it. And little Jimmy Rodgers, we don't have a verdict yet on little Jimmy Rodgers, but this freaking Markeith guy. So today, who'd they shuffle in today? Oh, and I forgot to tell you about yesterday we had a fingerprint. What's the stupid thing? Are you sure they were his fingerprints? I'm sure they were his fingerprints. Any further questions? No. Okay. And then we had his, not his parole officer, okay, but we had someone that was looking over the file that he had to submit to the parole board. And, they were just talking about how he had a job at the chicken place and that he came up positive for marijuana twice, and he had a traffic infraction that he didn't tell them about prior to the murders. Okay, so now they had the clinical psychologist from Plantation, Florida on, okay, and people that have been through repetitive things like child abuse respond differently to being assaulted than others. So what he's saying is, if someone's been a victim of child abuse and they walk into a 7-Eleven and they're assaulted in the 7-Eleven, it's going to be, I don't even know how many times worse, he said. So much worse for the one that's been the victim of repetitive abuse like child abuse than it would be for someone coming out of a stable childhood walking into 7-Eleven and being assaulted. Okay? So he's claiming that, but here's the funny thing, okay? He's claiming child abuse. Markeith is not claiming child abuse. Markeith is saying his mother did not abuse him. She beat him. She beat him so badly because he wouldn't cry. She beat him until she wore herself out. But he is not saying that he has any PTSD from that he has anything from that at all. But yet they keep bringing it up. All of the siblings talk about this, but also don't say their mother was abusive. In fact, saying how close they are with the mother. Okay? Now, let's see here. He quotes a CDC research study that followed 17,000 people for 10 years, right? It's an extensive study, all right? And there's 10 specific risk factors before someone's 18th birthday. And the higher number of risk factors that they have means that they will have can have issues, are more likely to have issues. So the risk factors that if someone experiences before their 18th birthday would be 1, verbal abuse, 2, physical abuse, 3, sexual abuse, 4, emotional neglect, 5, physical neglect, 6, parental separation, 7, if they witness domestic violence, 8, substance abuse, not them, if someone that they live with is a drinker or uses street drugs or is addicted to prescription medications. Mental illness, not them, someone they live with. If someone they live with is suicidal, attempted suicide, or has a mental illness, okay, doesn't mean them. And then 10, this was so stupid. 10, you couldn't even see it on the screen because they had this big banner across it and the guy wrote like chicken scratch. No, we're talking about the Markeith penalty phase. Okay, so now, where were we? Then he said this. Okay, so now the more risk factors you have, if you have 4 or higher, then if you have 5 or higher, you're 4 times more likely to, this is where he went crazy. He said, you're 4 times more likely to engage in sexually risky behavior, risky sexual behavior. 6 or more, you're 6 times more likely to engage in sexual risky behavior. 6 or higher, your average lifespan is 26 years old. Okay? Now, he says that this information was then used over and over and over and over again, okay, in multiple studies, and everybody can look it up, and that CDC study has been extrapolated into many, many studies, okay? Available to anyone that wants to utilize the data. Other people are utilizing that data for other studies, so you can review the material. Then they asked him, what other types of material did you review for this? He said, well, I looked at the sheriff's investigation report, his school reports, police reports regarding 11/17/16, police reports regarding 8/16/16, and the homicide of the Wesley gentleman, 1/20/96, and he had a conference call with other experts. And did you meet with Mr. Loyd? Yes, I interviewed him 1 time for 4 hours on September 20th. Okay, and then he said that when I go in there, I let him know that I'm a clinical psychologist. I say, this is what I do. Let me get to know you. Let me, I want to find out about your life. I want to find out about the trauma. I let him talk, and I let all this come out. Difficult childhood, mother not available, she was working all the time, is what he said. He said his mother was working all the time. He did not say she was abusive. He did not say she was doing anything other than work. He was a 7-year-old. He was scrounging or stealing for food. Him and his sister had to, take care of the kids. The mother beat him extensively. And because she wanted him to cry, he wouldn't cry, so she beat him until she wore herself out. Still, he didn't consider that abusive, just to have you know. He did not check any of the boxes for that being abuse. He was in a drive-by shooting where the person next to him got hit, and so that's traumatic. His best friend, cousin, was shot and killed. He was expelled from school. No money for Christmas presents because his mother was giving checks away to her boyfriends. He was kidnapped, beaten for 4 hours, shot at. So he goes into this that, oh, yes, they were beaten for 4 hours, and then they were thrown in the trunk. They were driven into the woods. They had their shoes taken off. Then they were told to run. And then as they ran, they shot the gun. Okay? So now let's see. And so he said, so you don't get over something like that. That's, horrible. Okay. Later in life, he's working at the Texas Chicken, and it's very lucrative working at Texas Chicken, because I didn't know this. You can get chicken at 2, 3, 4 a.m. They're bringing you chicken dinners. I've never heard of this Texas Chicken, but I don't think it's like that Popeye sandwich, but I don't know. So in order that someone can order this very appealing chicken dinner at 2, 3, 4 in the morning and have it delivered to them, they're going into really, really bad areas, very dangerous areas. In fact, one of his coworkers was shot and killed and robbed delivering the chicken, okay? And so he was robbed delivering the chicken. But still, he still continued to deliver the chicken because it was such a lucrative position. He couldn't give it up, okay? So it was very appealing for him to stay in that. So he sucked it up and stayed in the job, okay? Now, but then they talk about, now, this guy keeps saying children. He keeps using the word children robbed him. And Mr. Loyd went back to look at the children, look for the children that robbed him. And some man in the neighborhood told these children, put your head down because Mr. Loyd's coming to get you. Okay? So he put him on high alert is what they said, okay? And he has lots of paranoia. And he scored 6 out of 10 of those risk factors, 6 of them. Oh no, Janelle, I hope he's okay. Okay, so he said yes to verbal abuse. He just said no to physical. Let me see. What did he have? Hold on a minute. Parent separation. His father died when he was 3. He didn't answer number 9. What was number 9? See, I think he said yes to the physical abuse here and no to it on the PTSD. He was not consistent. Yet he said his mother, nothing she did was abusive. Okay. I don't know where I don't even know where I wrote it. Oh, here we no? Okay. Mental illness is there. He was neglected, ran amok. Okay, so having 6 or more, he's 10 times higher to engage, again, he says, in risky sexual behavior, 5 or more to use drugs, and then average life expectancy being 26 years old. Did he believe he had to look out for his family and they did not look out for him? 100%, he said, yeah. And it never occurred to him that his family would ever look out for him. He, though, looked out for his family. He was a parentified child, so a child that had to be a parent. The mother's abuse, he believed, was not a factor in his PTSD. He learned that he was very well entrenched in self-defense mechanisms. Being emotional was a sign of weakness. It took time to get him to open up. He was given a PTSD questionnaire, 140 questions to identify traumas and symptoms. It has a 1 to 5 scale for the answers, a Likert scale, and it was graded. Mr. Loyd does exhibit PTSD symptoms, and he meets the criteria for PTSD. Okay, and these things were, 1, he had exposure to trauma. 2, he had a hypervigilance. He was a specialized type of anxiety. He felt on guard all the time. He was overly sensitive. You find danger where it isn't, right? Re-experiencing is flashbacks or nightmares. Your brain trying to make sense of it. Okay, you have trouble understanding confusing things, and then there's triggers that will trigger those flashbacks. This can be very traumatic. Triggers are very specific to people. Loud noises in jail. Well, listen to this one. He's very triggered by the loud noises in jail. And when the doors have to be opened, okay, so a deputy will then, the guard will yell to the deputy, and he knows when there's the yell that there's going to be that noise, that electronic noise when the door is open, and he can't stand it, and he doesn't know what to do, and he's kind of like, well, he didn't say Pavlov's dog, but that's kind of what it was. When he hears the guard yell to the deputy, he knows it's coming, so he's tried to put his fingers in his ears, he's tried to do a whole bunch of things, but it doesn't work, so the electronic noise is making him nuts, and he yells, he jumps right away. When the guard yells and he knows the noise is coming, he jumps, okay? So he tries to distract himself, he can't do it, and then, there's avoidant behavior. He talked about compartmentalizing things, push it out of your mind. He says we all do that about things that bother us. We choose not to think about them. We push them out of our mind. But Mr. Loyd avoids thinking about what he went through, and that clicking noise is a trigger, okay? But why did he, then they go back to the chicken job. He made good money at it, okay. So he tried to avoid the chicken job, but he couldn't, because he couldn't find another job because nobody paid like the chicken job. Now, paranoia itself is not a symptom of PTSD, but if it's present because of another disorder Mr. Loyd suffers with, the PTSD and delusional disorder makes things much more complicated. So he starts talking about a famous story in his house where his mother has a dream about dogs, and they're snarling and they're drooling and they're after her, and then she wakes up and realizes that her husband is snoring like crazy, this guy's father, and she realizes she took it into the dream. And so that you can take instances that are in your waking life and bring them into your dreams like that. And then he talks about comorbidity, not really related to, but the intensity does worsen. He talks about the delusions. Okay, now the cross-examination, they talk about the different traumas, right? Flashbacks, the most significant would be the kidnapping. Okay, that gives him the most significant flashbacks. And then the robberies at the chicken place, but there's no mention of the parents' abuse, the mother's abuse in the PTSD, just the kidnapping and the chicken robberies. So they ask him again, you saw the police reports. Did the police reports say anything about this kidnapping? No. He had to rely on the self-report of Markeith. Okay? So this avoidance behavior, you try to stay away from triggers, right? Yes. Well, how did the PTSD affect his social life, they ask, right? So he says, well, I don't know if it did. They said, well, he had friends, he went out, right? Yeah. Okay. And although he was concerned about robberies, he still went and did the chicken job, right? Yeah, it was difficult, but he did his job. Okay? He could not speak to how difficult it was. Okay? But it affected his demeanor on a daily basis. It affected his judgment, and whether it was dangerous or not. The risk factors all had to do with PTSD, things that occur before 18. The answers were taken at face value. That's what he said, that everything that he looked at there. For example, physical abuse, yes. The mother beat him, so you took his word, right? Yes. Okay. Life with a problem drinker, 16-year-old, that's what he says. What if you answer yes? There's no, he goes, you just answer yes or no. So if you're doing that risk factor thing and it says, have you ever lived with anybody that's had a drinking problem? The prosecutor was saying, how do you know it's not someone that's 16 years old and lived with the drinker for 3 months? Okay? And you're giving that the same weight as someone that grew up their entire life with a raging alcoholic, right? So he's trying to cast doubt on that study. And he said there's no differentials. Okay, did you speak to mental health, other experts? Well, he spoke to his mother and his uncle. Was nothing said about his son. They're talking about this mental health. So they said that someone told him that his mother and his uncle, but what about his son that's in the institution? Nobody said anything. Okay. Now, so if you're asked to form an opinion, if PTSD formed a part of the murders and not directly was discussed at times, this is all based on Markeith's answers. And he just, so let me see. With the PTSD, did it affect those murders of the girlfriend and the baby, right? Because he's facing 2 life sentences, one for the daughter and one for the baby and one for the fiance. Not life sentences, death sentences, I'm sorry. And I'll tell you about that in a second. So, based on Markeith's answers, they did not discuss specifics with the defendant. They discussed events, his reporting, and his perceptions. He was hired to look specifically for PTSD and nothing else. Then there was a rebuttal. A redirect. The effect of his daily life, you talked about that, going out at night, but he knew it was dangerous, right? The nights were a trigger. They increased his anxiety. They increased his hypervigilance, right? Yes. Then you had Shanika Bush come on. And she was his first cousin. She was the daughter of Jackie McCree. She was only a couple of months difference in age. She's 43, to Markeith. They grew up. He was her favorite cousin. They were the same age. And in their family, they had cousin pairs, and he was her pair. He was protective, fun, and full of life. She remembers the kidnapping. She remembers how his face was messed up afterwards. He was more paranoid afterwards. He had bad headaches, and he didn't trust anyone. They started to show some photos of her visiting him in prison and her visiting him in prison with his kids. And then they say, do you love him? Yes. Does he love you? Yes. Would you visit him in prison? Yes. Okay. So the cross-examination of her, they asked, did you live together for the first 7 to 8 years of your life? Yes. Was it a regular household? Yes. Was it a loving household? Yes. Did you witness domestic violence? No. Did you witness abuse? No. You had food on the table? Yes. And she mentioned something about the grandmother. No further questions. Then Dr. Mayer gets on there. He's a psychiatrist. He was hired by the defense. Yes. He reviewed police reports, copies of statements, written materials of Markel's. Let's see here. So there's info from various sources about Markeith's background. Not unusual to hire a team of experts, is it, doctor? No, it's not. Do you take their expertise? He goes, I look at what they say, but I form my own opinions. Well, it's not uncommon if someone has cancer that there's multiple doctors, on that case? Oh, true, yes. Okay, so specialized experts that assist each other? Yes. Okay, do you rely on their opinion? He says, no, I make my own focused conclusions, but I do take into consideration what they see, whatever they pull out of that. So independent testing is important to pinpoint the origin of disease. Yes. Okay. The test done by Dr. Cessna, the MMPI-2, showed important information about things that give clinicians some good information to have comparisons and draw their conclusions there. He said, I use it in my office. It's a test. He's provided with some info of considerable insignificance process to evaluate Markeith. So what other interaction? I talked to him. I listened to him. And you had your he said, I had my psychiatric interview, so I take history, I make a determination of his mental status, and then I processed, this is a general method to get to a diagnosis. He met, what did I have there, 2 times? Oh, they met 2 times to do this. And then, let's see, 2 weeks later, he met again and then made sure he understood and consented that an attorney was there, because the defense attorney was there at first, but then he was gone. They wanted to make sure that. So he said, he asked, how was he? Was he difficult? No, not exactly difficult, but he asked questions. He challenged the doctor. He was cooperative, but he wanted control, Markeith, during this, right? He was very talkative, but he would go off on tangents. It was hard to determine if he really understood the questions that he was being given, okay? He could not give reliable, consistent information. Thought disorder, okay? Now, so you did get some reliable info. Yes, but he went off on so many irrational tangents, okay? He would start just talking about growing up a black man in America, and then he would say spelled with KK, and then related to the KKK, and then he would talk about lynching of a black man in the Deep South, and it had nothing to do with what they were talking about. This is a response to tell me that about his parents or school, etc. So these tangents, he goes, and then he would go into ones about his body and his sexuality and his bowels and how they worked, and he went into tangents that had no correlation to what they were talking about. So he would talk about power structure of society and God, and he could not make sense of what he said. The doctor couldn't make sense of what he was saying. So he was disconnected. He wasn't logical. It's a thought disorder. They cannot consistently and reliably think in organized patterns. They cannot, they have no chronological patterns to their thinking at all. And they suffer a psychosis. They're out of touch with reality. Is it a mental illness? Yes. So the diagnosis, what? Their brain does not work right, is what he said. They cannot think logically or rationally. They can't follow rules consistently because they don't understand them. Okay? It's thinking, feeling, behavior, long-standing thought disorder. It overlaps with all the other disorders that he has. They don't know the cause of it. People can try to make better choices, but he's confused. Info from the world, it's not the same way. He doesn't receive information the way a normal person does, okay? And then you have the PTSD because, let's see, 13 years old, he got in a fight, and he was hit with a pool cue. He lost consciousness, but there's no medical records, okay? And now they're going to say, again, the Department of Children and Family Services failed him because with all this stuff that's going on, and when he was at the psychiatric hospital, someone should have intervened, someone should have kept him there. They failed him, and so now you've got this overlap of major mental illness and trauma, terrible combination of factors. It's an abnormal way of thinking. He's confusing the environment. He reacts irrationally to normal things, okay? He's overwhelmed with fear. He diminishes things until anything that is minimally dangerous is extremely dangerous, okay? He's got a distorted way of looking at the world. And then the cross-examination says, well, you're looking for, you're looking for mitigating, where was I? This is my shorthand. Okay. Did you find him compliant to stand trial? Yes. Okay. He's not insane. He said, well, by the law of Florida, he's not insane. He did not meet insanity defense at the time of his offense. So at the time of his offense, he did not he did not meet the insanity criteria. So, but he's also saying that the MMPI results received accepted as, where are we? Oh, you didn't question them. You took the data, but not his opinion or interpretation. The defendant, you said, is delusional? Yes. Schizoaffective disorder, but did not put that down. He's psychosis. Here's what he said. He had a psychosis not otherwise specified. So what is that like, he said? So if I say to you, I see little green men, that's a hallucination? Yes. But if I say to you that I see little green men and they're from space, that's a delusion. Okay? When you see and hear things no one can, hallucination. When you have false beliefs, so if it's some cultural aspect that goes into it, then it becomes a delusion. So if you say, my neighbor did something because my neighbor is a witch and my neighbor put this spell on me or my animals, that's a delusion. But then they're saying there's a cultural aspect, because if somebody had said that in the Middle Ages when there was this stuff about witches, it wouldn't have been considered a delusion. So they just go round and round and round. Okay, so you have to look at the context of the person who has the thought. Yes, okay. And he did not eat meat, right? No. But a lot of people are vegetarians, correct? Yes. Okay. And pregnant people are not supposed to ingest things like drugs, etc., right? Okay. And so it could be connected, but not with those limited facts. Could you say that, that's something that's his mental illness? Religious beliefs, okay? If someone says the world is created in 6 days, but science says no, is that delusional? So someone, or correct, and that's not delusional. I'm sorry, that's not delusional, correct. There's too much stuff going on in this thing. Someone with delusional, they have someone with delusions and not psychosis, no symptoms of psychosis, a single delusion. Does it make me psychotic? He said, yes, it would make you psychotic. Even if you just had one single delusion, you would be psychotic. So people out to get him because he's a young African American, it is not an uncommon belief, is it? For people in the prisons? And he said, well, it's not uncommon. Okay. And when he got out of prison, he wanted a normal life, right? Yes. He got a job, right? Yes. And then did his delusions play a part in the crime? He says yes. Because the manner of which the crime is committed, then they went on. They didn't understand the question. This went on for so long. So then they came on again based on what the defendant told you and the police report. Did this play a part in it? And he kept saying, yes, the death penalty cases are ones that you primarily work for the defense? Yes. Now, the redirect was the delusion. A person goes somewhere that signals enhanced danger. If that person is delusional and has a delusional pattern of understanding stimulus, is distorted to understand its threat level or power, to a normal person would be a little anxious, but to a delusional person, they would be terrified for their life. Okay? He does not have a choice what the triggers cause his mind to go into, okay? So, but insanity, the standard, he doesn't meet the standard for insanity. Okay? So they said, well, what would that mean if the insanity standard was to come into play in this case? He said, well, it would mean that he really does believe that a gun doesn't shoot bullets, and that he thinks people are aliens, and that he doesn't understand that if you shoot someone that they may die. Okay? And but he says we don't try to, that's what the law says about the insanity. We don't say someone is sane and insane. So the mental health disorders could have other strong or very significant weakness, could cause very strong, could have very strong or have very cause him to have very significant weaknesses. Nothing approaching those was even oh, okay. So this is all about, could that have caused him in this crime of shooting the girlfriend, shooting the brother? So could he have sensed a very real danger where there was no danger? Yes. So that could have played a part in it. And knowing he committed the offense that killed his girlfriend and his child and shot her brother, should you send him to death row? It's part of the story. Should be, I don't even know what the heck. This was so ridiculous. If you great respect to knowing. Okay, so this is about knowing his whole story, knowing he shot his girlfriend, killed his child, and shot her brother. You have to determine whether that should send him to death row, okay? Based on all of the mental illness and everything else that he has, okay? And then did we have another? They're done with this thing, thank goodness. I think everybody rested today. They called off early. Because this last one was just ridiculous. And so I've told you that I have this one. Yeah, wow, okay. I forgot to tell you about the police officer yesterday. That's not a police officer anymore. So they brought him out and they said, where did you see Markeith? He said, well, I saw him. It was in, when was it? When did they find him? Did they find this guy? Oh, 1998. Todd Herb was working for the Orlando Police Department. He worked there since December of 96, and before that he was in Brevard County he was a patrol officer, and he would patrol Paramore. He saw a blue Plymouth Acclaim, and it didn't have tags on it. And so he got behind this blue Plymouth Acclaim to pull it over. Well, the blue Plymouth Acclaim was being driven by Markeith, and he pulled over, but he got out and he started to walk away. And so the police officer is asking for his license. He finally catches up with Markeith, and he's resisting, so he says, I wasn't driving the car. He says, what do you mean you weren't driving the car? I saw you were driving the car. Okay? So he says, no, I wasn't driving the car. He starts to walk away. So he said, well, that's it. I'm going to arrest this guy because he won't even help me out here. So he grabbed his right wrist and tried to put it behind his back. And he says that Markeith started punching him in the face with his left hand. And he punched him 7 to 10 times in the face and the chest. And then that ripped the shoulder mic off of his shirt. So he couldn't call for backup right away. He did finally call for backup. But he caught up to him. And he tried to get him on the ground by hitting him across the leg with his baton. But he barely hit him when his baton went flying and Markeith ran again. And he was trying to get into the car that was pulled over. This cop got up to him and sprayed him with pepper spray, and in turn sprayed himself with pepper spray. And so he said he barely got a response from Markeith, but he started running. So he tried to grab him from behind, and he started elbowing him in the chest. They fell to the ground. This officer fell on top of him, and he laid on top of him until the backup came. Okay. They said, did you notice any casts or injuries on his right wrist? No. And you didn't, did you learn about that he had injuries? He said, I didn't know it at the time that I arrested him, that he had injuries. Apparently, Markeith had injuries to his wrist, and by grabbing it like that and doing this special, they'd squeeze it to put it behind their back, it caused him great pain. And then why didn't you just run his license? And so now the defense starts saying that that he had not committed a crime, right? Correct. So because of his driver's license, you just arrest him? Why didn't you find out if he had one? Ask his name, look it up. You just grabbed him by the wrist, okay? You didn't believe him because black people make excuses like that, right? No, the cop said. Then he said, did you not believe him that he had an injury? He said, I don't know what your question is. Okay, I'll read your previous. What happened? Hold on a minute. I've got him. Don't worry about it. Don't freak. It just did what it. Hang on. Relax. Okay. Okay. So he said, you use that method wrist lock? Yes. Later you pulled the baton out, right? That's a use of force, isn't it? Yes. And isn't that scrutinized by the police force to see if it was really necessary? Yes. Okay. You claimed your face, you were punched in the face, right? Yeah, but this picture that they took of you, it just looks a little red. But isn't it true that your face was red because you maced yourself with the pepper spray? Yes, sir. And you also maced him, right? Yes, sir. Okay, would it be a fair statement that you were on top of Mr. Loyd when they arrived? Yes. Okay. Now the state rested their case in aggravators, and the defense has the mitigators. And that that was today. So that was yesterday. Now the defense rested their mitigators. So that's it. I think tomorrow morning the jury's going to get the instructions, and then we can get to this. I can't take any more of this case. I cannot take any more of this case. Okay, what's going on now? Hold on. Oh, Patricia. What happened? You want what's? Okay. Well, let's talk about this, and then I can take you on. Okay. I'm not talking to you, Deb. I'm talking Trish. All right. Let me finish with this trial right here, and then we can talk about that again. Okay, let's see here. Okay, Mona, I'll look at that later. That looks interesting. All right, let me see here. Hold on, now my whole mail is messed up now. Okay, you figured Watts out. Jennifer did? Okay. All right, let me give you a number 2. Jennifer's got Watts figured out, so We'll entertain it. And then where are you, Earthbound? Request for what do you want? Oh, okay. I'll get that to you, Kalani. I thought I sent it to you. Carol, Sakura, I thought I sent it. I sent it to you. You didn't get it. I got a response back from you, that out of office one. Go check. I sent it to you earlier today. Oh, wait a minute. We've got, oh, you know, I was going to look for those documents today. Thank you, Andrea. Hey there. Britt, I have nothing from you. Hi.
Hi, Carolyn.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, it's Jennifer James.
Hi, how are you?
I think the reason we are still so fascinated with the Christopher Watts case is because we all experience mother-in-laws or friends that have mother-in-laws similar to Cindy. Mm-hmm. However, it does not escalate to somebody dying. So now it's hit everybody that, wow, maybe so-and-so that I know escaped, you know, by the skin of their teeth getting killed, and they got divorced instead. I think that might be the fascination.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah. That
a perfect storm. Mm-hmm. The financial problems, the kids, the stresses with the families, and who would have ever thought that Chris would not have the normal behavior of getting a divorce? I'll just wipe them all out. That's what I think the fascination is.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot to it. That, and also that something can appear normal, right, and quiet on the outside, but be like, who would think something so horrific? I mean, it's not that he hit his kid. Right. It's not that, you know, it's something like, could you even imagine that, right? If you had Thanksgiving with these people and they were your relatives or they were your friends and your neighbors.
Well, yeah, and I did that. I can remember when I was pregnant with my son that passed away, and we all would go around the Thanksgiving table saying what we were thankful about that year. And I had been trying to get pregnant and was not successful for many years. And that year I'd finally been able to get pregnant again. And I announced that my thing for being thankful for was that I was finally pregnant again. And my God, you would have thought I'd kill somebody. What? Oh, what the hell? You know, they were so mad.
Why?
Because I already had Jesse, and Jesse was a gifted child, very smart and worthy. I don't even know how else to put it, child. And why would I do this to my other brilliant child? Why would I bring another baby in?
Before they even knew that there was the Down syndrome, she was like that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
How many children did she have?
3.
So did you bring that up to her?
No, because you're stunned. You're like, I can't even understand these people's thought process.
Yeah, I know. You just kind of naturally be like, well, why did you have 3?
I wish I was more like that, but I was the baby, and you know, you don't ever get to talk or have an opinion usually when you're the baby.
I was a baby too. Yeah.
Oh, were you?
I'm making up for it now.
Okay, good for you. I'm trying. trying desperately.
Yeah, right. You never
But
get a say. Everybody's always talking over you. You gotta jump in, right?
yes, ma'am. But yeah, you're just so befuddled. Why that's so horrible.
Right, right.
And like when my son was in the NICU, the one who passed away, my mother-in-law would be telling me, of course, that he'd be better if he didn't make it. But the other thing she'd be telling me is, you can't shortchange Jesse now. You can't give too much attention to this newborn baby. You can't shortchange Jesse.
Wow.
And
How many years were they apart?
8.
8?
It's like he had 8 years.
Yeah.
You know, I
Right.
always think another child is going to be helpful because it's going to be a challenge, and it's going to be it's just more sharing, more caring, more. But their whole thought process was, how could you do this to Jesse?
Wow.
It's just bizarre. But yeah, they can't, I think people just can't wrap their heads around, because this really escalated, went way further than any of these other bizarre in-law situations have usually go. And they're like, wow, maybe we need to be a little more careful about, how we respond to these snarks and these strained in-law relationships, because God, looks like they could just kill you.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that's just my take. Fresh off seeing my therapist today, so was pondering a lot.
All right. Do you talk about Chris Watts?
No, I talk about my own garbage.
I wonder if it'd be interesting if you say, if they know. I just find so many people don't know at all.
Well, I see her in 2 weeks, so I'll ask her.
Yeah, ask her.
Yeah, I will.
I wonder what a therapist would think if we told them it was the Chris Watts case that was making us so crazy.
Well, I just think he, like I said, I think it captures because you don't expect it. This is taken like so much further, and everybody hears a story about a crazy in-law, a friend that has a really crazy mother-in-law or whatever, but it really went way beyond what anybody thought it could, I think. And Cindy just is never going to, she's not a normal human being. She is never going to accept that this is the horrific deed her child did. She just can't, because to accept it means that she has to accept something incorrect about him, incorrect about her, and that means death to her in some way, in some, soul wrenching part of her. She just can't face that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, there's a lot to figure out there. I mean, it's complex.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nuts. And I do have some lightheartedness with Reddit and a few book reviews, but my daughter keyed me off to another section of Reddit. I don't know if you've ever heard it. Am I the a-hole if I, and people put down what they did and people comment. And there's some good things in there, so I want to do that. So what did you want to say, Earth Brown, about the case? Because I really had it with this case. I am aggravated beyond aggravated with this case. I hate it.
Oh, absolutely. I was so ready for them to stop throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks, because nothing that they brought up in the defense had anything to do with even mitigating factors. Very few things that happened to him are mitigating factors.
And he's got he's got another trial. I mean, it's just, what are they going to do if he gets they're still going to do the trial for the? I mean, He'll just take a plea deal, hopefully, right? No, probably not.
Let's hope we don't have to go through another actual trial with him.
It's insane. I can't take it anymore. I've never ever seen a penalty phase. So they say that. Hold on, where's my thing here that I have? This death penalty. Markeith, he was found guilty of 5 violent crimes during the first phase of his trial. 2 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts of attempted murder. Loyd faces 2 individual death sentences, 1 each for the murder of his ex-girlfriend and her unborn baby. Okay, now that we're in the penalty phase, his criminal history, including his time in federal prison and on drug charges, is fair game for prosecutors. His past is also fair game for the defense team, which will explore his life dating back to his childhood, things that could soften the jury's view of the convicted killer. And the jurors are likely to spend more time in court deciding how to punish Loyd than they did in deciding to convict him. Both sides have indicated they intend to spend more time questioning witnesses during the penalty phase, and boy did they. Boy did they. The jury has only 2 opinions in the case, options in the case: life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. The jury does not impose any potential sentence of death. The jury makes a recommendation for the judge, who ultimately imposes the sentence. The jury's recommendation for death is not the end of the process. The recommendation triggers a waiting period, followed by a final hearing in front of the judge, at which Loyd would have an opportunity to present any final evidence that his life should be spared. When it's all finished, Loyd still faces a separate trial in 2020 for the murder of Orlando Police Lieutenant Deborah Clayton. Once again, the death penalty will be on the table.
So he's just supposed to be allowed to do all these things because he had a bad childhood? Is
Yeah.
that basically what they're saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess I should be able to go out there and start committing some crimes and getting off.
Right?
Yeah. Right? Yeah. And the thing is, none of them are even saying that the mother was abusive, even though what she did, they're not. And then, it's just, there's a lot of people that are abused that don't turn around and kill people, right? So, and they don't have perfect childhoods, and they don't have presents at Christmas, and, but that's,
Yeah, and that whole trial has been a crap show.
It's ridiculous. I just can't. I've had it with it. I can't.
Is it public defenders?
I'm sure, probably, right?
Because they sound like they're really some talented public defenders.
Did you hear the defense attorney say he objected to the doctor, the rebuttal doctor? If he was going to say there was no psychosis, he objected to him saying that.
I'm sure that's probably one of the things I wrote down here that I couldn't read.
I'm like, really? You want a doctor to be forced not to say that he didn't find any psychosis? Well, he is an expert, like the judge said. I don't see why it can't come in. He's an expert.
Mm-hmm.
And it did come in. But then you had, in the closing arguments from the guilt phase, you had the same defense attorney say, I personally think he's guilty of everything.
Right. I mean, I don't even know why we wasted so much time on this.
Well,
this is everything but the kitchen sink. Sounds like.
Every sibling, every cousin. I'm surprised they didn't bring the entire neighborhood in.
Right.
That's a lot of money that's costing the taxpayers.
Oh yeah, that one doctor was what, $10,500?
Good Lord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he didn't even know how many hours he worked. Oh, I don't know. I can tell you what I got paid.
Yeah, no, he should have known how many hours he put in.
Everything in a fish tank, right, Evie? That was incredible. The fish tank.
I mean, okay, it wasn't the kitchen sink, it was the fish bowl or the fish tank.
10,500 I heard, Leisha, for the one. I didn't hear 22 yet.
This was in Florida, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's where I grew up.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Somebody's making a big deal out of something that just happened in Colorado again.
Who? There's something else in Colorado?
Yeah,
What?
back in 2013 or so, this woman moved here from Texas so she could basically pull a Dee Dee Blanchard. She ended up doing she took her like 10-year-old daughter
Mhm.
and made them do all kinds of things and said she was in intestinal failure.
Oh my gosh.
She set up a GoFundMe. She got
Munchausen's.
yeah, and then she got the the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Yeah, I went
Right.
on a trip.
They did a lot for her, and then they did the fire department and the police took this little girl on ride along. Girl did die, but they exhumed the body and they said they shouldn't have any of the diseases that this mother had claimed. And so now she is up for charges of murdering her daughter.
Good.
And
So
how old was the daughter when she passed away?
She just passed away 2 years ago, I believe, and it was 10 or 11. I think 10. Her name was Olivia. It's the Kathleen Turner, Kelly Turner case.
Kelly Turner?
If you look up Kelly Turner, you'll be able to see it. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting, it's a pretty sad case. And she had she had an older daughter too. And her older daughter was she was just about to be on the same track as Olivia. But Children's Hospital stepped in and said, this isn't right. This child doesn't have any of these.
But how are they fooling the doctors like this?
I really don't know. We just got this case. We just found out about all this recently.
Probably a lot of doctor shopping. When she didn't hear the opinion that she wanted to hear, didn't get a doctor that was going along with her, she would swap doctors and then probably falsify records. It's hard to imagine they can get away with this now because everything's computer generated,
Mm-hmm.
the documents and all. Back when Dee Dee Blanchard was doing it, of course, she said that because of the hurricane and the relocation, all her records were lost. Oh, and something else I've thought about with, hate to bring her up again, Cindy once, but when my son died, who my mother-in-law hated and never made it a secret in our family, I just recently, when we were cleaning out her house, found all these sympathy cards to my mother-in-law, all these sickeningly, oh, so sorry for your loss, and cards for flower arrangements. And I'm like, what is all this about?
Mm-hmm.
People were just pouring over her, worried about her grief over her grandson. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So it turns out that she was in her church wailing about her loss,
Oh.
her beloved grandson. And I had no idea. So she was just taking all that supply, that people were just pouring over her, like she even gave a crap. Never. But that was good to her. It felt good to her to get all that. They're just sick people. They're sick.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they anything to get attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, I never knew any of this was happening because I didn't get out of the bed for 2 years after he died. I mean, I was barely able to function.
Wow.
And but no, everybody was and no. Jennifer's, she's too overwrought with her loss. Send all of your condolences to me, Mona, the grandma. Yeah. And not find this out until, how many years later? 6 years later. She had so many people fooled. She just had so many people fooled.
Oh, wow, that's something. Oh, gosh.
But
Yeah.
I'm sure that's exactly how somebody else we know is. Very, very convincing. Very good.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure, right? Yeah, look at me. Just like, they made such a big deal about that victim statement and having to talk about that and made it sound like it was about Shanann and the grandkids, but it wasn't at all.
No.
Not at all.
I didn't hear anything about Shanann and the grandkids.
You don't expect a little old lady, which, Cindy's not old, obviously, but that's how she presents herself.
I
Like
know. She's like, what is she, like 63 or something? And she presents herself like 95, like, so frail and,
Yep. That's how she presents herself. Oh, look, everybody's just beating up on me. Oh,
Yeah.
Poor me. Yeah. And some people feel bad, feed into that because that's all they saw at first.
If she just shut up, all she had to do was just shut up.
Yeah.
Just shut up.
But-
yeah. But she doesn't, she still won't stop.
No, can't. Because that would mean that she loses that supply of whatever a narcissist needs to be able to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And she lives in her own dream world.
Well, she did, because the texts too were another thing. The texts that were sent from her to Catel, from Cindy to Catel, were all about, you never said it was a true crime book. We don't want his crime being talked about. We want only his testimony being spoken about. And
nobody wants to hear that. Because it's not true. It's not a real testimony. You have to actually have some sort of remorse. You have to have some sort of, I feel horrible. I can't believe what a horrible thing I've done. Repentance is essential for forgiveness. You can't expect forgiveness without repentance, true repentance, and there is none.
Mm-hmm, right.
There's no.
Nope, there's not, because he doesn't even acknowledge what he did, and
He took out the trash.
yeah, it's just he doesn't want to be judged. Doesn't want to be remembered for it. He hopes that people will talk about him like they used to, that he was such a great guy.
Good luck, Chris.
Yeah, good luck, Chris. And the other thing I was going to say, when you said about and then Cindy started telling her, like, I thought you were a Christian. I thought you were this. I thought, and then shame on you. Shame, like they love doing that, right? Because then they'll shame on you. You're not a Christian. If you don't do what they say, they're going to manipulate everything in order to do that, whatever they want, right? So
they'll wrap themselves in Christ. I know, because my dad was a Baptist minister, and he's off the charts narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do. They wrap themselves in that, and so they think that if they can keep that mask up just so, nobody will ever see the real them.
Right.
But behind closed doors, buddy, my dad was the devil.
Yeah, really? Wow.
Yeah.
He was a Baptist minister?
Yes.
Did you say?
Yes.
That seems to happen with a lot of ministers. Not just Baptist ministers, but ministers, pastors, whatever,
They are drawn to it. Narcissists are drawn to it because there is a power in that. You are standing in front of an audience, and those people are hanging on your every word.
Mm-hmm. Right, and think you're an extension of God, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And if your kid, sitting in that pew is acting up, you've got to scold them and take them to task, because that is a reflection on them.
Mm-hmm.
That's another narcissist, obviously now we all know that's an extension of you. I'm not a real person. I'm just an extension of my narcissistic parent.
Right, yeah.
Who cares that I needed to go to the bathroom like a little kid would?
Right.
That's why she's getting up out of the pew. But yeah, no, they will wrap themselves in that, and boy, they'll be the first to jump on you if you're not acting properly Christian. But my dad ended up impregnating somebody in the congregation, was drummed out of the church.
Really?
I have a
Wow.
sister I've never seen with my own eyes.
Wow.
Yeah. After my mom died, everything fell apart because his mask, he just couldn't keep it up without help from my mom.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I just woke up from a weird dream. Oh, Casbah, just woke up from a weird dream. Sorry about that, Casbah. Maybe, I hope you weren't listening here. Maybe it came into your dream. I don't know. Oh gosh. But I have some a little bit lighthearted stuff from the Reddit. My daughter told me about this. The thread is "Am I the a-hole?" Okay, and people write in about if they are. So let's see. Now this one guy says, "I've been with my wife for 12 years, but 6 months ago she decided to become a vegetarian. I totally support this. She is doing it because she didn't want to be part of the factory farming industry. Again, I totally support this. However, her recent behavior has really started to annoy me. And tonight I told her so. I do all the shopping and the cooking and have went to great lengths to accommodate her new diet. However, I feel she has started to get weird about it. Tonight I cooked 2 separate pies. And when she served herself, she stopped and asked me if the serving spoon had been used on my meat pie, because if it did, she didn't want to use it. Now at this point, my pie crust was unbroken. The one thing the spoon could have possibly touched was the pastry crust, but she didn't want to use the spoon if it had even touched that. Hold on a minute. Now I have to go to the next one. If it had even touched that. Cue me telling her this was annoying me and us fighting. She still wears leather shoes, leather handbag, eats dairy and seafood. Bringing this up did not help. Am I the a-hole? And
No.
Who would you say no? They said, let's see what they said. They said, I fully support vegans and vegetarians. I even make an effort to eat meatless meals when possible. However, it makes no sense for her to be strange about cross-contamination when her diet is choice-based and not health-based. If someone had celiac disease, for example, they should worry about if a utensil has been used. But in your wife's case, her diet is a preference, and regardless of any meat particles that might infiltrate her general area, the net amount of meat consumed is still decreased from her choosing not to purchase meat. So then Sodi said, well, no extra animals were harmed in the touching of the pie with a spoon. And then, let's see here, anybody else say anything about this one?
That was good.
At the end, we can see it finally gets you drunk. I don't know, but yeah. But I mean, the fad dieters were kind of nice, as they did help expand the market for these items. Better to have a few options than just one brand of bread that tastes like dry sponges. Okay, so let's see what there's other ones in here that are. Let's see.
Just real quick,
Yeah.
the retrial for Katie McFenelon is set for April 13th.
Yeah, lovely. Isn't that? No, yeah. April 13th, and Frazee is when is Frazee? February something, yeah. I knew they were gonna, okay. Okay, then here's one. Am I an a-hole for not teaching a skill to my oldest son that I taught his siblings? I offered the 2 best options to my oldest, which a few days ago I posted during dinner. The first option was work as a salaried employee for his brother's company for a few years while he learns the trade, and then buy in for a partnership in the company. I would have sold him my share for a very fair price. This was the only way his brothers were willing to join the company. He rejected it immediately. The second option was apprenticeship. I set up with someone I knew and respected. Unfortunately, this was based in Alaska, and he rejected that as well, which I expected. He then said a lot of hurtful things about me and his mother. I gave in and said I would teach him. Some people did suggest this on the first post. He took all my tools and materials in the next few days and moved it to his garage. I've been going over to his garage workshop every day for a few hours to try and teach him. It's not going that great, I have to admit. I'm physically not in the best shape, and he's getting frustrated by it. I'm just going to keep up with this. Hopefully it'll get easier. I appreciate everyone's input.
Does it tell his age?
No, it doesn't.
The son.
It doesn't tell us his age. No, it doesn't tell us his age.
Because a 15 or 16-year-old, I could see that. But if he's like 25.
I think has to be older if he's got his own garage. He's got to be.
Well,
okay.
no, the son's in the wrong.
Am I the a-hole for showing my girlfriend her bad driving habits? Am I the a-hole for going on family vacation with my 2 sons and not telling my daughter we're going? I have 3 kids, 2 boys ages 20 and 19, and a daughter 24. My ex-husband is still very close with us, and we remain best friends. We all planned a vacation together to Cape Cod, but we sort of came to the conclusion that we shouldn't invite my daughter, Laura. Laura, she can be a mean person. She is quick to anger and can be extremely demanding to others, especially aimed at her 2 brothers. And sometimes, even just a night out to dinner with her can be hard to get through because of the way she acts. I just want to give a quick example. We went to my cousin's wedding and had a sleepover at my sister's house the night before. Where was I? Hold on a minute. My son doesn't even want... Okay, hold on a minute. I lost my place here when I had to expand this thing. I've got to find out where I am. Quick example, okay. My son had a blanket on the couch and left it there while we went to go make breakfast. Laura, when she woke up, looked at the blanket and asked him furiously, "Are you going to effing pick this up? You're just going to effing leave this here like some slob? Pick it the F up," at a volume that most of the people in the house could hear. My son doesn't even want to talk back to her for fear of escalating her anger, so he just did it. Another example is that my son left a pan in the sink to soak before washing it, and she flipped a shite and started calling him lazy and a brat and all this stuff over one pan. One time she asked my husband to do yoga and he didn't want to, and she basically started berating him for being unhealthy and making his refusal to do yoga into his big thing. One time my son was having a migraine and had to cancel going to his aunt's for dinner, and Laura just absolutely berated him and insulted him for not sucking the pain up and going. This is a microcosm of how she acts, not only to them, but to us as well. And her boyfriends and friends, if she finds even the slightest thing wrong with someone, she will point it out viciously. She can also be funny and charming and talkative. She isn't all bad, but she seems to have a problem when it comes to not being able to keep quiet even over the slightest things that annoy her. When we want to have fun on vacation, but the thought of being with her for a week makes us all groan. It only takes one of her attacks to really dampen the mood, especially when she starts insulting people's characters and demeaning them. Me and my husband try to calm her down and tell her that she's being irrational, but there's no point at all. She just aims it at us and escalates it further. So we aren't telling her we're going. We're just going to go. And they said, "Are we the a-holes for this? For basically abandoning our daughter to go on vacation without her?" She would be 100% excited to go if we asked her. And she only lives 2 hours away from where we're going. We live in New York City. She lives in Providence, but spends half of the year in New York City. It sucks because I do love her, but I also don't want to ruin a family vacation. I keep thinking how much fun it will be with just the boys, and know how awful it will be to go with her, but also how bad it is to not invite my own daughter. And let's see what people said. They said,
I wouldn't want her either.
I have kids about the same age, an older daughter with 2 younger brothers. I think you need to sit down and tell her to smarten up, and that if she wants to come, she has to control her temper. Little brothers can be pains, even at that age. She needs to learn to let things go. My daughter is in therapy. Do you think yours would be open to it? She sounds like she has a bit of tension in her life. And then someone
That's an
said,
understatement.
yeah, I'm like astounded. People are saying, not the a-hole. Like, if she's the temperamental at some point, that was the parent's fault for allowing her to be like that. If you have to hide from your daughter to have a pleasant time, you've been a bad parent. Oh, okay. She may have a genuine mental illness, in which case it really isn't anyone's fault. But she should see someone about it. And someone said, even if that's true, then this should have been addressed when she was a child, and she should have seen a therapist. I honestly don't think it's likely this is anything other than bad parenting, though. Edit. For the 50 people telling me you can have mental illness later in life, I know, and that's fair. The original poster's treatment of their kids in the present is more than enough to say that they're the a-hole. If your kid has mental health issues and your solution is just to avoid them, that's a-hole behavior. That's
I live with mine, and I do everything I can to avoid her, and I don't think that makes me an a-hole.
Yeah, no, I listen to this one now. Am I the a-hole for banning my boyfriend's daughter from my apartment? My boyfriend lived in his marital home post-divorce alone. The boyfriend decides he wants to save money, as the house is too big, so he moves into a 1-bedroom apartment while shopping for a condo. He contributes to the household bills. Cool, win-win. On custody weekends, he and child age 7 stay with his parents. Parents' house becomes miserable. He asks if he can stay over some nights with me. If only a few nights per month, and kid loves me and is not disrespectful, I oblige. Fast forward about 7 months of regular visits. He co-sleeps. WTF. I don't believe children should sleep in adult beds. Saturday AM cuddles while watching cartoons is okay, but when you're big enough to sleep through the night on your own. They shower together. She can wash herself with supervision. Like, shouldn't you be raising a self-sufficient human being? Finally,
Absolutely.
she has way too many potty accidents. She's peed in my bed at least twice. My mattress is big money. He didn't even help clean it or offer to pay for cleaning. She's pooped on my bathroom floor once. I had to make him put her in the shower. He thought baby wipes were okay to clean it up. The weekend, she shite her pants while on my couch and didn't say anything. My beautiful Crate and Barrel extra wide couch, blankets and throw pillows all smell like fecal matter. I am livid. He didn't help me strip the covers or wash or help me load the car to take the larger items to the laundromat. Since he can't assume responsibility for his child's actions, I said we need to hold off on visits for a little while. They can stay at his parents again.
7-year-old daughter is doing all this?
Yeah. Staying at my apartment is a treat. As the girlfriend, I am not a stepmom. We are not getting married. He doesn't want to again, and I don't want it for myself. This is my little girl. Her parents are divorced. Blah, blah, blah. Go see a doctor and clean up after your child, or get your own place so she can have accidents there and you can deal with it. Am I the a-hole for banning her? And then she says, update. I just called my boyfriend from work and I made it clear. His daughter needs to see a therapist and a pediatrician immediately, or I'm calling child services. We are also going to stop co-sleeping and showering. He said he appreciated my wanting to help, and those were going to be his next 2 phone calls. Fingers crossed. Thanks for your guidance. And then update number 2. I guess I made a mistake by telling my boyfriend I would call CPS if he didn't get those appointments done immediately. We're going to a medical doctor Saturday morning. I also called her school and left a detailed confidential message for the counselor.
Well, wait, I thought she said she's not gonna be a stepmommy, but now she's
Right, and I
getting
guess she
this
gave
involved?
the ultimatum, and she thought he was going to be like, no way, and he said yeah, and he called, and now she's like,
No, that, I'd be, why would you want to be involved in any of that? I mean, no, he's not worth it.
Not unless you're willing to play a stepmom role.
And she said she wasn't.
Right. But no man should expect his girlfriend to automatically just play stepmom.
It doesn't sound like a boyfriend worth having to me, but that's my opinion. God knows I'd never do this again. For any guy.
Right.
but let's look at the new. There's a couple new reviews. See what they're about. Okay, so where were we?
I want to jump back to Jimmy Rodgers for just a second.
Oh, Jimmy Rodgers, nothing happened today though.
They wanted to rehear the testimony from Taylor Showmaker. I have no idea why they wanted to rehear it. They went
Maybe
into
about
courtroom.
the nickname thing.
I don't know, but they went in for a read back of her testimony. So who knows what that means? That's the only real thing that happened today.
That happened, right? Yeah, but hopefully they'll have a decision tomorrow.
I'm just curious what the heck that, why did you need to rehear that? And say, not Curtis Wright's testimony, and how are you going to find any commonalities if you don't question more than just one readback? Made no sense to me. Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. All right, so here's some of the new reviews. Here is Amazon customer 1-star, big scam artist. Okay, this author is a total scam artist, only in it for the money. I paid $19. Wait, hold on. And is that mine? No, that was the wrong one I was reading. Sorry. B. Ryan, 1-star. Ugh. I made a decision a few years ago that I would not write a negative review about a true crime author if I didn't like the book. Instead, I would simply not review it. I changed my mind. I'm going to give a review of this terrible book that I purchased. Of course, to my regret, I need to forewarn a possible buyer to be wary about buying this book. There are so many grammatical errors, misspellings of people's names, incorrect information, that each sentence needs to be completely revamped. It was choppy and did not flow well. I fell for the author's ploy that she communicated with Chris Watts, and he told her the real story of what happened to his beautiful family. It may be that they exchanged a few letters, but it hardly qualifies as a book. This lady is clearly not an author nor a writer. I feel uncomfortable saying all this because I'm sure that Miss Cadle is a nice lady deep down, I think. But it reeks of greed. Kick me, please. I'm trying to save you from making the same mistake that I did. I have been following Crime Rocket stuff. It's filled with article after fascinating article about the Chris Watts case. He has written extensively for the Kindle. Now he's plugging it. Now he's talking about that one. Let's see what he says. He has written extensively for the Kindle. I don't own one. I'm not planning on buying one, however. I was actually tempted to buy one just to get his books. And I'm hoping he will publish a paperback of all the articles. Also, John Glatt, one of my favorite true crime authors, is coming out with a book in 2020 on the case. I will patiently wait for that to come out. But I'm worried about that John Glatt one because there's a big mistake in the description. So I just hope it's Amazon. Now let's see. Here's another one. Flawed Plan, 1-star. Letters from St. Christopher is a pious apology for a multiple murderer written in purple pro by a vanity publisher who fails to convince she possesses a moral compass. And it goes without saying that the line in which she boasts of being a good writer, which is followed by one with a grammatical error, is followed by
There was
one
an apology,
with a grammatical.
though?
She said
I
the line in
never
which she
heard an
boasts, the line in which she boasts of being a good writer is followed by one with a grammatical error.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then Christy Sanchez enjoyed the book for the first time. the 5 stars writer. It has good for a first-time writer. It has very good content. I learned a lot that I didn't get from spending days reading and hearing legal discovery and countless video blogs. Ignore the haters and buy the book. She's a real true crime author. I'm sure that wasn't somebody she knew. And then we got Mrs. B, 1 star. Really nothing new in this. Everything that could have been read in the discovery. And a lot of, let's see. Then we have
If
Nola.
John Douglas were to write a book, I would read that one.
What?
If John Douglas were to write a book about it, I would read that one.
Nola liked it, 5 stars. I like this book. I thought the author was unbiased and presented it as, here's what I got, you decide. Who the heck? Here's what I got. People who want more to the story and say that there is too many loose ends possibly haven't been following the case. This is real life case that to this day has loose ends. And then you've got Catherine, 1 star, failed try at writing, freshman high school level writing. It's worse than freshman. Horrible grammar and spelling. Did writer not edit her book? At the moment, my wasted money is in the burn barrel and is now ashes.
More like 6th grade, wouldn't you say?
Oh, I would say even, my gosh, I think, yeah, 6th grade teachers would go nuts on that too.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me furious that this author, okay, we had the demon one, so yeah, there have not been, let me see, that many new, so I don't know whether they're just not reviewing it or they're not selling anymore. But it's still for sale. And she did pay $10,000 because she said that in her message to Cindy Watts. And if the Watts want to pay her back the $10,000, she will abandon the whole project. She told them at once when they were trying to control the narrative. So,
There we go. It all boiled down to money, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. And then see The Perfect Father, the book that's coming out by the other guy, John Glatt. It says, in the early morning hours of August 13th, 2018, Shanann Watts was dropped off at her Frederick, Colorado home by a colleague after returning from a business trip. It was the last time anyone would see her alive. By the next day, Shanann and her 2 young daughters, Bella and Celeste, had been reported missing, and her husband, Chris Watts, was appearing on the local news pleading for his family's safe return. But Chris Watts already knew that he would never see his family again. Less than 24 hours after his desperate plea, Watts made a shocking confession. Now, this is where it's wrong. Made a shocking confession to police that he had strangled his pregnant wife to death and smothered their daughters, dumping their bodies at a nearby oil site. So right there, it's wrong. I hope that's Amazon that got it wrong, because if he already got that wrong, not putting that much up.
Yeah.
Heartbroken friends and neighbors watched in shock as the movie star Handsome, are you kidding? This guy, I hope he's not into Chris. The movie star Handsome, devoted family man they knew was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. The perfect mask Chris had presented to the world in his TV interviews, and the family's Facebook accounts was slipping. And what lay beneath was a horrifying image of instability, infidelity, sexual ambivalence, and boiling rage. Okay, I don't think he didn't have boiling rage.
When he was on the porch in that first interview, of course, that we all saw him, he was saying those kids. And the minute he said that phrase, those kids, I want those kids, I said to my husband, oh, he did it.
Oh, yeah. He never shed even a tear, never was even remotely, should I go? Oh, I was watching the cams today, and he wanted to leave so bad so he could get in a car and text Nikki and go on with his life. He was so pissed that he had to already be dealing with the police. Should I go try to find her? Maybe I should go try to drive her routes. And no, stay here. It's just ridiculous. But in the
my husband said to me, "You've been watching too much Dateline. You've been watching too much 48 Hours." I'm like, no. This is this is all you need to know. He did it. He killed them all.
Oh yeah, Jimmy didn't believe it. Jimmy used to be like that. Like he goes, you think? Like I'm like 100%, but now he's much better. Now he can tell like right away.
Yeah.
Some of the other keywords that he said that got me were, I have no inclination. Well, who says that?
Yeah.
I don't
Somebody
know
that
what my
has
daughters are.
Total inclination.
So this says in this first major account of the case, Kate almost loved that. Best-selling author and journalist John Glatt reveals the truth behind the tragedy and constructs a chilling portrait of one of the most shocking family annihilator cases of the 21st century. So we'll see. And then they've got the cover here. Let me see here. Hold on. Cover.
I can't wait until the Watts case just stops coming up.
Oh, but it never will. Is Ted Bundy ever done?
No.
It's never going to. You're going to. It's the rest of your life. You hear that's it. It's never going to
know,
stop.
but
Never.
We talk about Ted Bundy at chosen times.
Well, it's because his mother won't shut up.
Right. She needs to just shut up. And then, of course, you get another book.
Yeah.
Whether it's The Perfect Father.
Well, there's going to be the movie that comes out. It's going to keep going. I mean, the movie's coming out in 2020. I don't even. When is it coming? Does anybody know when that movie's coming out?
And it won't. It'll even come out, it'll end up being an American Monster or one of those kinds of shows.
Oh, it's a Lifetime movie.
Yeah, but because it's being a Lifetime movie doesn't stop it from eventually being made into an American Monster or one of those other crime shows you see on ID.
I don't know American Monster, but okay.
It is kind of interesting that they never say NK. It was because of NK that he got the idea in his head.
Oh, well, but no, Jamie did. Now, she said
Oh,
she
did
believes,
she?
yeah, she believes that they will look for anything. They will look for anything. And J-Bo says it's not isolated, it's common that the mothers and fathers of some of these killers have done the same. Jackie Peterson, for example.
Oh,
Who's
Scott's
Jack-
mom.
Wait. Oh, you know what I thought she was saying? I thought she was saying that they have done the same, like annihilated. I'm like, how? She's talking about the mothers. I thought she meant done the same, like annihilated their families. They
The
wouldn't be
mother's
here.
in denial.
Okay, the mother's in denial.
I mean, I love my son, but I'm sorry. If he were to do something like this, I would still love him. And I would say to the world, if you don't like me because I love my child, that's one thing. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have done this. I'm not saying the thing he did isn't horrible and reprehensible. What I'm saying is I have a love for my child, not a
Right.
love for what he did. And that's the mistake that she is making, and she just can't do anything different.
You're right. She definitely should have just stated, a quick brief mention that she lost her son that day to a certain extent, but not to the same extent of Shanann.
Right.
But she was a victim of what Chris did by taking away her grandchildren. I don't care if she didn't like Shanann and didn't care about Shanann's death. That's fine. That's her prerogative. But she should have talked about how it felt to have these two grandbabies and then this unborn grandchild taken away. I still love you, Chris. You're my son, but you took my grandbabies away.
Yeah, and never even got that from her. Could
Right.
never even get that out of her.
But that's what
That's just sick.
That's what she could have combined the two a little bit. The victim's impact statement is you became a victim because of the crime that was committed. And in this case, it just happened to be your son. But your son killed your grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
Do they, I'm sure
I'm sorry. I really
grandbabies
don't think
there.
she cared too
I
much
don't
about
know
those
about that.
grandkids because she didn't even go to Celeste's birthday party.
No.
Yeah, she's crazy.
Couldn't care less about those girls or that unborn baby.
Well, she did say she did, I don't know, somebody said, and I think we all heard it somewhere, that she didn't go to that birthday party because she was afraid of Shanann.
No.
Oh yeah, but come
No.
on now. See, that's the
No.
whole thing, though. You suck it up. If you really love your granddaughter, it would kill you that your granddaughter is about an hour away. You haven't seen her in forever, and this is her birthday. She's here, and you don't go.
Right.
Ridiculous.
There were so many people at that birthday party that even if she truly was afraid of Shanann, there were many people who could have.
She wasn't, though. She's a
That is a lie.
liar.
I agree. I'm just saying that if she was actually afraid of Shanann, there were plenty of people there who could have had her back if Shanann got mouthy or whatever.
You're right. I mean, I can picture my mother-in-law saying that. I'm afraid of what Jennifer would do, Give me a break.
How many people will be there to get in the way between you and your mother-in-law? We're here to make the party for the babies. Let's, let all the kids have fun. Let the grandparents be here, from both sides. And Shanann was perfectly willing to make peace for that day.
And on that note, there's another "Am I an a-hole if I refuse to let my elderly neighbors use my Wi-Fi? I live in an apartment building with 3 apartments. Floor 1 is a business floor. Floor 2 is an apartment. Floor 3 is apartment 2, and floor 4 is apartment 3. I live in apartment 3 on the 4th floor. The neighbor below me in apartment 2 is an elderly Hispanic woman. She's nice, although a bit standoffish. She's given us some leftover food on a couple of occasions, and we're friendly when we pass each other in the hallway. There's an elderly gentleman that we see occasionally that I believe is her boyfriend. He's very nice and polite. Last night, as I was walking into my apartment, the gentleman came out of their apartment and spoke with me. My Spanish is rusty, but essentially he told me that he's having issues with his pension and couldn't make payments on the internet bill. They are now sans internet. He then asked me if I would give him the password to our Wi-Fi so they could watch television, use the internet, etc. He didn't offer to pay anything, so I'm assuming he means use it for free for an indefinite amount of time. Put on the spot, I told him I needed to talk to my roommate first, which was a true fact. My roommate is on the fence, which is why I'm here. Number 1, first, I work from home and I use the internet for work. I host webinars, so I need a stable internet connection. The internet speed is 100 Mbps. I don't feel that's fast enough to host a lot of devices. I get an internet stipend for work, so my roommate and I pay $10 a month for the internet. I realize that's extremely cheap, so I don't feel as though them using it for free is a legitimate reason to say no. They constantly have their adult children over. Every evening, there are at least 5 people in the apartment. I'm worried that they're all going to use it, slowing down the internet even more. I don't think I can change the password to our Wi-Fi, so if I give it to them, there's no way to stop them from using it for however long they want. I feel so conflicted. This feels like a lot to ask of a neighbor, but I could be wrong. Am I the a-hole if I say no to this request?
Nope. Don't do it. Don't do it.
So someone says, Do not allow them to use your Wi-Fi. If he is looking up some sketchy stuff, you could get the blame for it, and he could end up downloading some big things that will slow your own connection. I'd only do it if your router lets you set up a guest access and lets you view and limit their use to prevent sketchy sites and large downloads. And then someone said, are you prepared to be responsible for whatever they access and download?
No.
And the other one said, that is a lot to ask of a neighbor, especially one you're not buddy-buddy with. Another one says, but you can set up a guest account if you want. And I like the idea of letting them use the 2.4 gig band if you have it. If you do let them use it, I'd monitor their usage, and if it starts impacting you, cut it off. But I personally wouldn't give my Wi-Fi out to anyone, much less someone I barely know. Just tell them you are very sorry, but it's not possible. Repeat as often as you need to.
Absolutely not. What if they're looking up, I mean, they could be looking up ways to kill your
But wouldn't that
next
be
door
on their
neighbor.
device and not on their internet? Wouldn't that be on the device?
I claim ignorance. I just wouldn't give it to them.
I actually shared my Wi-Fi with a neighbor, and then I got started getting emails about songs they were downloading that were pirated.
Really?
Yep. So
Yeah.
needless to say, I put a stop to that.
Better safe than sorry.
Never again.
Gail is probably freaking out because we're still all
Is
awake.
she? Okay, well, let me see. One more. I've got to find a good one here. Okay. Am I the a-hole for calling a supervisor about the message their worker left on my voicemail? My answering machine voicemail setup usually says something about telemarketers. Just hang up, as we don't have any money and we aren't interested. Friends and family leave a message and we'll get right back to you. Well, I guess this message really pissed off one telemarketer because she left a very bitter voicemail about how telemarketers are people too and have families to feed, and this is how they make their living, and how dare I say what I did about them. There was more to her rant, but well, now I was pissed that I was taken to task over my voicemail. I called the number back and I calmly asked for her manager, then explained to him what had happened. He was appalled and assured me that the caller would be spoken to. My brother, who worked at a call center at the time, said I pulled an a-hole move and that the telemarketer was probably fired. So, was I an a-hole for complaining to the manager? Let's see what they said. F the telemarketer. If they didn't want to get fired or spoken to, then they shouldn't have left the voicemail. And someone said they shouldn't be a GD telemarketer if they're sensitive. They literally get shut down by the vast majority of people they call. So how many people are copping abuse just because they don't want to listen to the product spiel from someone who has rang their private number to bother them when they're busy? Once at the end of a uni, and I quit the job before I had one lined up because I hated it so much. In the interim, I stooped low and applied for a sales job. It was basically selling charity signups at shopping centers. You know, those people who call out people as they walk by and bother them and try to show them sad photos of poor children. And if they walk by, they sometimes continue to harass them. I realized what it was and tried one day just to see, and then never came back, because I cannot do that no matter how badly I need the money. I don't think people should be bothered when they're minding their own business. Clearly the telemarketer needed to do the same and quit if she's so sensitive. You have to be kind of an a-hole to succeed in that kind of work anyway, with no regard for boundaries or people's opinions if you want to make good money. There was another problem with working there. The people. One idiot didn't touch a single person all day despite approaching and annoying literally every person who walked past. Then, for some reason, decided he wanted to shake the hand of one woman who was very obviously Muslim, and therefore politely refused his hand. He kept on insisting. I had to step in and explain to him, and he was still, what? Him and Tweedledee both also played destitute and got free lunches out of me too. Also, both hit on me constantly, all day, and I found out later that they had specifically asked me to train them because I was the hot one and not the other girl. So gross. Okay. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, this is another, I guess, kind of a lighthearted thing.
Okay.
Have you seen the commercials for the Joker movie?
No, because I haven't seen any TV lately.
Okay, movie at the theater about the Joker, the Batman Joker, and his backstory, and it's very sad, and it's a very well done movie. Well, they did a parody of it on Saturday Night Live, and it is about Oscar the Grouch.
Oh, they did? This past
Oh,
Saturday? Yeah?
The Grouch and how he became the Grouch, and it's done in that same style is really funny.
I'll have to look
You
it
would
up on
enjoy
YouTube.
it.
Yeah, I'll look it up on YouTube.
I'm going to have to go to work, so I'll hop off.
Yeah, I'm going to hop off too. It's 5. Okay, no wonder my eyes are closing. All right, so thanks for coming. Thanks to the moderators. Thank you guys for calling in. Thanks for the conversation, and thank you all for listening, and talk to you guys tomorrow.
Good
Thanks
night,
for putting up
everyone.
with me.
What?
Good
Thanks
night,
for putting up
everyone.
with me.
What? I still can't hear you. What'd you say?
Thanks for putting up with me.
Oh, no problem. There's nothing to put up with. Thanks for putting up with me. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.